Surveillance, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
What if you could keep the top economic experts in a conference room next to your office without having to feed them?
Do we need better optics? Do we need some substance? Do CEOs care about ESG?
We have seen quite a lot of stimulus pumped into the system already.
It's the biggest warning yet about the financial risks of climate change.
Now, there are more ways to hear us. Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and at BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery's running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
Next. Nah. Nope. Boring. If you skip through loads of your TV channels, why are you paying loads of money for them? With TalkTalk TV and Faster Fibre, you can access the nation's favourite TV shows, a world of films and sport, live and on demand, all for £25.95 a month for 18 months. And if you're quick, you'll even get a year of Amazon Prime on us. Search TalkTalk TV. TalkTalk. For everyone. Offer ends 5th of December, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
What if your email was organised by project and not by date? What if everyone looked at the same thing instead of their own inbox? Then it wouldn't be email at all. Forget your fragmented, jumbled inbox and make the change to channels in Slack. Spaces dedicated to individual projects, topics, or teams. All your communication is neatly organised and everyone is on the same page. Slack. Choose a better way to work. Get started at slack.com.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition. For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked bread to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our Party Time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our Party Time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
Keys? Check. Lunchbox? Check. 8-year-old ready to go? Check. There's one more thing you should check before you leave, your travel. There's a new segregated section of Cycleway 4 under construction on the A200 Creek Road around the junction with Deptford Church Street. So expect delays due to lane closures. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
I'm Ben. I used to be homeless. I'd sleep in the train station, stuff newspapers in my clothes to keep warm. Sometimes I thought I wouldn't wake up. No one should have to live like this. The Crisis Christmas Centre was a safe place. We got hot meals, health checks and support. In the new year, they helped me find work and a home. This Christmas, you can reserve a place for someone who's homeless for just £28.87. Go to crisis.org.uk today and help someone like me take their first steps out of homelessness. Thank you.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Light volume in equity trading ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. Much of the equity market right now is holding on to gains. We have strength in some of the communication stocks, limited advance too for some tech shares. NASDAQ Composite ahead by about 0.6%. In the minus column, Deere & Company down 5%. The company delivered a cautious outlook this morning, given trade tension and difficult growing conditions, I should say, for North American farmers. Deere also said that construction equipment purchases are set to decline. Weakness in Boeing. This is after the company lost authority to declare the 737 MAX airworthy. The FAA is going to be issuing future certifications. Previously, Boeing was able to do this on its own. At the same time today, the Wall Street Journal reporting European and Mid-Eastern regulators will be conducting independent certification reviews of Boeing's next new aircraft. Automakers are becoming a little more aggressive in clearing inventory of older models from U.S. dealerships. J.D. Power is expecting these discounts in the month to be richer than ever before. The firm is saying that the incentive spending will likely rise in November by about 12% to over $4,500 per vehicle. Right now in the bond market, U.S. 10-year Treasury has a yield of 1.76%. You're caught up on markets. Back to the balance of power and David Weston.
Bloomberg opinion, informed perspectives, and expert data-driven commentary on breaking news.
From the Interactive Broker Studio, it's time now for Bloomberg Opinion, and we welcome today columnist Joe Nocera. Joe Nocera always teaches me something, but he taught me something entirely new. I knew the Redskins were bad. The Washington Redskins football team is bad. I didn't know why, and I should have thought it's a Washington team, follow the money.
Exactly. They're bad, but they're extremely profitable. Therefore, their owner, who's awful, Dan Snyder, has no incentive to make the team better. He wants to. He doesn't really know how to, but he makes so much money, there's no reason for him to.
And so that raises the question, how can you make that much money when you're that bad? I think that you'd make more money if you were more successful.
Well, as the late Cleveland Browns owner, Art Modell, put it, the NFL is run by a bunch of fat cat Republicans who vote socialist on football. That's why.
And how do they do that? Give us the structure.
All right, so, first of all, the big thing is the television money. So the television money goes to the NFL Central, and it's just divided to all the teams. They get so much television money that the television money alone is $50 million or so bigger than the salary cap. Wow. The salary cap's $188 million. And what they bring in from television and other central NFL revenue is about $250 million.
Wow.
So that alone covers it.
So if they're paying out all the salary cap, they still are in the black from day one, just
Bingo.
On the TV member.
Well, they have to make coaches and other, but it's basically a break-even proposition just from the TV money.
Does this differ from the NBA or
it's
the other professional sports franchises?
Right, it's especially
MLB?
different from Major League Baseball, where there isn't that much national television. So most of the TV is local, and so the teams get all the money from the local. The other thing is, in the NBA and Major League Baseball, you get the entire gate. So every person who comes in, that's money in your pocket. In the NFL, you only get 60% of the gate, and the other 40% goes to the visiting team.
Wow.
So it's another form of, shall we say, revenue sharing or socialism for billionaires.
So I thought that the original theory of this socialism, as Art Modell calls it, was parity. We're going to have better games. We're going to have teams that are more even, Steven, will have better games. But if you actually can encourage a team like the Washington Redskins or, heaven forfend, the New York Giants, to pick one, not to be so good, it doesn't help the games.
No, it doesn't help the games at all. I mean, when you look at this year, you have some really, really good teams like the 49ers and the New England Patriots, and you have a team, Cincinnati, they haven't won a game all season. They're 0-11.
But there's also no incentive for the owners to change this, right?
The Cincinnati Bengals make money. They don't make as much as the Redskins, but they make money.
See, that's fascinating to me, too, because I thought, without having paid attention, I never thought about buying a team, so it wasn't relevant to me, that basically you didn't make money year to year. You basically made it on the appreciation of the value of the underlying asset, because those assets have gotten really pricey. That
used to be true. That's become much less true over the years because, well, one reason is because the NFL has gotten deeply involved in extracting revenue from cities to build new stadiums. So they all have new stadiums that they're basically not paying for themselves, with the exception of the Patriots. Then they also have these stadiums, or also have many more luxury suites than they used to, many more down front special seats that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So the stadiums themselves, besides being largely free, make them a lot more money than they used to.
So the way you lay this out, there's no incentive for Dan Snyder to go into the owners' meeting and vote to change the system. What about the guys that actually are successful, are putting out the good decisions, the good money, and they really are building dynasties? The Baltimore this year is doing great. The number one.
Well, they made a great draft. They made a great draft pick. I mean,
but they don't get as much of a reward. I get they get a reward, but it's not as much.
The reward is psychic. It's not financial. The reward is winning the Super Bowl or getting into the Super Bowl.
Well, is that the answer? Is that what Roger Goodell would say, for example, about Dan Snyder? That, come on, he doesn't want to lose. His ego is in this.
He would say that. He would say he doesn't want to lose, and his ego is deeply involved. And by the way, that's true. The difference is that if he was losing money, it would force him to change the way he did business. So he's a meddler, and he doesn't know anything about football. Robert Kraft used to be a meddler, too. But when he hired Belichick said, you keep your nose out of this, and I'll give you some winning teams. And that's
look
what
happened. And look what happened.
Snyder can't bring himself to do that, and he has no incentive to do so because he makes so much money. By the way, I will say this for him. He does know how to make money, even at the expense of the fans.
Well, this is your point, actually. He's a great marketer. He's making all kinds of money with selling billboards and with parking and all kinds of stuff. He's making a lot of money that way.
Right. The parking is insane. And basically, he got he got Maryland to pass a law that nobody could park except in his parking lot. Well, they eventually got rid of that law, but it was for a couple of years, if you parked on the street, you'd get towed.
Well, the net is we shouldn't expect a dynasty in Washington anytime soon.
Yeah, it's very sad. And it's sad for the Redskins fans because they've had such a great team for so long, such a great franchise.
Joe Theismann,
the whole city cared about the Redskins. Now they care about the Nationals and the Capitals.
Okay. Many thanks to Bloomberg Opinion's Joe Nacera. It really is a terrific piece. You should read it. You can read more on this and on other stories from Bloomberg Opinion at Bloomberg.com/opinion and on the terminal by typing in OPIN-GO. Coming up here, when is a public beach not a public beach? And what's the Supreme Court got to do about it? We asked Professor Richard Frank of the University of California School of Law. That's all coming up on Balance of Power on Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. U.S. stocks are climbing on a barrage of positive economic data. The Dow is up 16 points to 28,138. S&P 500 up 9 points. The Nasdaq climbing 46. In economic news, demand for business equipment and factory orders for durable goods up 0.6% in October. That was the biggest gain since July. Third quarter economic growth advanced at a 2.1% pace. That's better than the government's initial tally, and jobless claims hit a 3-week low last week. Well, 'tis the season for discounts at the car dealer. J.D. Power says automakers are struggling to clear their inventory of older models, and that means incentives this month topping $4,500 per vehicle on average. That's a record. Donna Wilson, Bloomberg Radio.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Bloomberg Business of Sports podcast. How did the Yankees become this mega valuable team? Where the money is flowing inside sports around the globe.
From the marketing perspective, where are the dollars spent?
From union heads to team owners, Scott Soshnick. This multi-billion-dollar industry. Boston Red Sox CEO Sam Kennedy.
National Hockey League Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Bloomberg Business of Sports. Listen today on Bloomberg.com. The Bloomberg Business app or subscribe on Apple.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or... online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Did you really get those trainers half price?
Yeah, nice, right? From Zalando. They have new deals every day for Cyber Week.
This is an express service to a whole week of cyber deals, calling out footwear, sportswear, winter looks, designer styles, and more.
Cyber Week at Zalando. Save up to 70% on your favourite styles. Zalando. Free to be.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Got a big journey ahead for Thanksgiving with the family? Well, don't forget to take TuneIn along for the ride. With live 24-hour news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Talk, you can catch up on the big stories and stay informed while you're on the road.
Other companies whose shares have hit all-time highs today include Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. Its shares started
Just try not to bring up politics at dinner. Trust us. Happy Thanksgiving from TuneIn.
If there's one thing you look forward to most on Thanksgiving, besides stuffing yourself with bottomless mashed potatoes and gravy, oh yeah, it's football. And wherever you are at game time, you can catch the NFL's epic Turkey Day triple feature on TuneIn this Thursday, starting at 12:30 Eastern. Don't miss the back-to-back-to-back lineup of Bears v. Lions, Bills v. Cowboys, and Saints v. Falcons. Whether you're driving to the in-laws or carving the bird, search NFL on TuneIn to hear the holiday action. Happy Thanksgiving.
Along the goal line, Martin scores! He takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
And a move, and a shot, they score!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
A lot of people aren't aware that TuneIn lets you listen to the same terrestrial stations that you pick up on your FM AM dial, except you can hear them from anywhere. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
Want to know what's happening in right now? The latest headlines are just a tap away with Fox News Talk on TuneIn. When news breaks, get up-to-the-minute coverage on developing stories from around the world. Plus, hear all the Fox shows you watch on your TV. Listen to Fox News Talk around the clock on TuneIn.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Balance of Power with David Weston.
Coming up on Balance of Power, he thought he'd lost his claim to cut off access to a public beach next to his property when the Supreme Court declined to get involved. But now he may have another chance. We're joined by University of California law professor Richard Frank on the ins and outs of property law. But first, let's get a market check with Doug Krisner.
David, not unexpectedly, volume today is very light in front of the Thanksgiving holiday. Much of the equity market is holding on to gains right now. Of the 11 industry groups in the S&P 500, only industrials are showing a bit of weakness. We're keeping a very sharp eye on developments with respect to the U.S.-China trade saga. You'll recall yesterday President Trump said talks on the Phase 1 deal were nearly done. Today, we had Deere & Company delivering a cautious outlook for the U.S. Market ahead. Some of that is tied to global trade tensions, also difficulty for certain farmers in North America when it comes to their growing season. And then on top of that, construction equipment purchases are expected to decline. So we have Deere shares right now weaker by about 5%. Dow Industrial Average holding on to a gain of 0.2%. S&P 500 ahead 0.4%. The NASDAQ Composite is rising 0.6%. Shares in Boeing down about 0.7% right now. The company is going to lose authority to declare the 737 MAX airworthy. Certifications now will be solely in the hands of the FAA. You know, previously Boeing was able to issue its own certifications. At the same time, the Wall Street Journal reporting that European and Middle Eastern regulators will be conducting independent certification reviews of Boeing's next new aircraft. In the bond market right now, U.S. 10-year Treasury is trading with a yield of 1.75%. We've got a much weaker Japanese yen against the dollar at 109.45, so that's going to set us up for higher stocks tonight in the Tokyo session. You're caught up on markets. Let's get back to Balance of Power. David Weston.
Thank you so much to Doug Krisner. When a billionaire venture capitalist bought an 89-acre tract of land on the Pacific Ocean, he thought he also bought the right to shut a road running through the property to the beach. But the beachgoers fought him all the way to the Supreme Court and thought that they'd won when the Supreme Court refused to overturn a lower court ruling in their favor. But now a California appellate court is saying not so fast. To take us through it, we welcome now Richard Frank. He's professor of environmental practice at the University of California Law School. So thank you so much for being with us, Professor. So explain this to us simply. He spent, I'm sure, a fair amount of money on this large tract of land overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Normally, if you buy a piece of land and there's a road through it, you get to decide what to do with the road. What's the argument against him?
Well, that's generally true, but this particular piece of land has a long history of public use of the property and enjoyment of the beach, for which the previous owners charged a parking and admission fee for many years. So the controversy arose when the current owner bought the property in 2008 and quickly closed a gate that had always been open to the public and attempted to bar public access to the coast.
So what I know of property law goes a long way back to my first year in law school, and I knew about adverse possession, sort of open and notorious for 21 years, at least that's what we were taught back then. This is not that, right? The beach users were not saying we own the road. They were saying something less than that. It's something called public dedication.
Yes, under a 50-year-old doctrine established by our California Supreme Court called implied dedication in California. Long-standing public use that is open and notorious and contrary to the wishes of the owner can ripen into a permanent public easement across private property. And that's the theory that the environmental group, the public access advocates, were arguing in court here, and which the California Court of Appeal this week rejected.
So why the up and down? As I say, it went up through the state court system, as I understand it. There was a petition for cert up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said no, and that was against, actually, the landholder. I guess his name is Mr. Vinod Khosla. It was against him, but then it went back down to the trial court. So why up and back down again?
Well, actually, these are separate lawsuits. This has been the most prominent and heavily publicized, most closely followed public access issue in California for the last decade. So the case that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court was one that the landowner actually lost. It was one brought by both public interest groups and the California Coastal Commission, arguing that the current landowner could not close the access to the beach that had been open for 50 years previously, until and unless they sought and obtained a development permit from the California Coastal Commission. The California state courts ruled in the states in the advocate's favor, and the landowner unsuccessfully sought review from the U.S. Supreme Court, claiming that the requirement that he obtain a permit violated his private property rights. So separate lawsuit, different result. This lawsuit, which has been percolating along separately, raises a different theory and was brought by a different public access group.
But does that mean at this point, after this adverse ruling, it's in the trial court, this was an appellate court ruling in California, after this, does he still have to apply to the state of California for permission to close off access?
Yes, according to the California Coastal Commission and to the earlier court decision, which is now final, he can't keep the road closed until he obtains a permit from the California Coastal Commission.
And what's the standard for that? What does he have to show to get that permit?
That is an administrative agency. He's going to have to show that public access to the coast is not needed, and that his decision to close the road, the access to the beach, is not an intensification of use, which is the language of the California Coastal Act that's involved here. The Coastal Commission was created by voter initiative back in 1972. Has a strong public access component. So the Coastal Commission has been fairly vigilant in its effort to protect and preserve public access to the coast. So the Commission has a fair amount of latitude in deciding whether or not to grant the coastal development permit that the landowner presumably is seeking. Although, interestingly, I don't think he has formally applied for that permit since the U.S. Supreme Court denied review in that case last year.
How does overall public policy inform this? I mean, certainly in other states, I'm sure in California, there are special rules about beaches, about access to beaches along the ocean. Often that people have the right to have access to the beach where they wouldn't inland.
That's exactly right. In California, access to the coast and other lakes and rivers is actually embedded in our state constitution. There are a number of other states around the country, including Florida, New Jersey, and Hawaii, that have similarly broad access principles. And I can tell you that here in California and in some of those other coastal states, the public is passionate about its view that it has a right to access the coast, and that a private party should not be allowed to unreasonably block their access to the coast. So it's an ongoing tension and ongoing fights between private property rights on the one hand and public rights of access to the coast, which, as I say, deeply embedded in California law as well as the law of several other states.
As I say, by all accounts, this is a wealthy individual, sophisticated individual, knowledgeable individual. Presumably, he had legal advice before he bought this tract of property. Would a lawyer have advised him he had a reasonable chance of actually closing off access to that beach?
That I don't know. I mean, I don't know what, I was, of course, not privy to those conversations, but my speculation would be if he's a sophisticated businessman and landowner, that he would have asked those questions, and that a responsible attorney, particularly given the history of this property, which factually is undisputed that there was longstanding public use, would have at least flagged this for the prospective purchaser, now the landowner, that there was a potential problem on his hands.
Finally, is this a one-off, or do these sorts of things come up, perhaps on both coasts for that matter?
Yeah, they come up regularly. There's another equally heavily debated and contentious public access debate going on in Southern California in an area called Hollister Ranch near Santa Barbara. So this is simply the most prominent in an ongoing saga of access disputes up and down the California coast and some other parts of the state, like Lake Tahoe as well.
Okay, thank you so much for being with us today. That is University of California law professor Richard Frank. We're told that the presidential election will be won or lost on pocketbook issues. That's what we're told every single time. And then a handful of swing states will decide them. We know which they are. They are Wisconsin, they are Michigan, they are Pennsylvania. So how are swing state pocketbooks doing these days? We're going to take a look because Bloomberg has done a thorough analysis that may surprise you a bit. That's coming up next on Balance of Power, and we are on Bloomberg Radio.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President, Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Next. Nah. Nope. Boring. If you skip through loads of your TV channels, why are you paying loads of money for them? With TalkTalk TV and Faster Fibre, you can access the nation's favourite TV shows, a world of films and sport, live and on demand, all for £25.95 a month for 18 months. And if you're quick, you'll even get a year of Amazon Prime on us. Search TalkTalk TV. TalkTalk. For everyone. Offer ends 5th of December, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99. Save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December. Savings off RRP while stocks last. Exclusions apply. For T's and C's, please visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com. This Black Friday, save a massive 30% off Sky Superfast broadband, including anytime calls and guaranteed Wi-Fi in every room or money back. It's usually £42 a month, but now it's just £29 a month for 18 months plus $19.95 setup. So move sharpish. Offer ends 2nd of December. Search sky.com. Sky Fibre area, Sky Kit required. Refund on boost component £2 per month paid during current contract up to date of claim. Prices may change during contract. See sky.com/guarantee. Terms apply.
With the new Halifax Family Boost mortgage, children can get help to buy their first home, and mum and dad earn interest on their savings. Everyone's a winner. The new Halifax Family Boost mortgage. Halifax makes it happen.
Your home and savings could be at risk if mortgage repayments are not maintained. Only available in England and Wales. One applicant must hold a Halifax Reward or Ultimate Reward current account. Conditions and exclusions apply.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds, or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Got a big journey ahead for Thanksgiving with the family? Well, don't forget to take TuneIn along for the ride. With live 24-hour news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Talk, you can catch up on the big stories and stay informed while you're on the road.
Other companies whose shares have hit all-time highs today include Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. Its shares started
Just try not to bring up politics at dinner. Trust us. Happy Thanksgiving from TuneIn.
Why do some leaders inspire action when others don't?
The best leaders are actually the best followers because they don't see themselves as the thing to be followed. They actually see themselves as following a cause bigger than themselves.
I'm Guy Raz. How leaders inspire movements for change. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR. You can subscribe to the TED Radio Hour on TuneIn.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So we have the equity market trading higher. Volume, though, to be fair, is a little on the light side in front of the Thanksgiving holiday. Markets keeping a very sharp eye on developments with respect to the U.S.-China trade saga. You'll recall yesterday President Trump said talks on the Phase 1 deal were nearly done. Little bit of disappointment, though, in certain respects, particularly what Deere had to say on the year ahead. Very cautious outlook. The company cited trade tensions along with difficult growing conditions for some farmers in North America. And at the same time, Deere cautioned on a bit of a weakness in some construction equipment purchases. Shares in Deere right now weaker by 5%. And Boeing is trading down after the company said it essentially lost authority to declare the 737 MAX airworthy. These certifications now will be the function of the FAA. Previously, Boeing had been able to issue its own certificates. And we also have the Wall Street Journal reporting that European and Mid-East regulators will be conducting independent certification reviews of Boeing's next new aircraft. Shares right now in Boeing down about 0.7%. Income taxes might be the farthest thing from your mind right now, not for the market. H&R Block shares trading up by about 2% right now. In the bond market, we have a yield on the U.S. 10-year Treasury at 176, some $1 strength today, and a much weaker Japanese yen at 109.48, so that's going to set us up potentially for higher stocks tonight in the Tokyo session. That's a look at markets. Back to Balance of Power. David Weston.
Thanks very much, Doug Krisner. Live from the Interactive Brokers Studio, this is Balance of Power. I'm David Weston. We're going to talk about the race now. The Democratic candidates for president may be spending time on things like legalizing marijuana and the Supreme Court, but historically, how people are doing financially has been a big part of how they vote. And that was certainly on President Trump's mind last night as he spoke to a campaign rally in South Florida.
The economy is booming, wages are rising, crime is falling, poverty is plummeting, confidence is soaring, and America is stronger than ever before.
And there's a new Bloomberg analysis out showing that a large number of counties in swing states are enjoying their best annualized income gains since President Clinton came to office. Welcome now, Sarah McGregor, who covers the economy for Bloomberg, and Sahil Kapoor, who covers politics. So, Sarah, I want to start with you. This is a terrific piece by Alex Tanzi and Wei Liu, and I recommend it to anybody who has a Bloomberg because it's very colorful, this map. But as I look at this map, it really indicates that maybe Trump is doing the best in terms of increasing people's income in Pennsylvania and Ohio.
Exactly. You know, I think there's probably some debate about how granular we can get with some of this economic data. What really are voters looking at? You know, we saw some data out today that showed GDP growth a bit more, growing a bit more modestly than one thought. But, you know, personal income is something that people feel. And so I think what's interesting about this data that we collected is that it shows, really importantly in some swing states, that, as you said, personal income growth has been doing pretty well under Trump's watch. And that's places like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa. And, you know, those are the places that'll make or break it for Trump. So, you know, any bit of detail or sort of evidence that people's situations are better than before he took office is definitely going to help him as he tries to get his reelection going.
Yeah, and so, Hill, it seems to me it's critical, particularly in those swing states, because he sort of promised people they'd have better lives. They'd make more money, they'd get more jobs, things like that. If he can deliver on that, doesn't that give him a leg up come 2020?
There is no doubt, David, that President Trump's prospects in 2020 will live or die on the basis of the economy. And what's fascinating about this piece, what I really like about it is that it goes beyond simply, GDP growth and the stock market and drills down into personal income, which is an important factor for people to decide whether they are really better off. To me, what the ultimate question is going to be, are people's wages, their real wages, their take-home pay rising faster than the cost of living, things like healthcare costs and particularly college tuition, which are just gobbling up so much of the wage growth that we've seen over the last few decades, which has created this, you know, perennially unsettled political environment, this constant desire to throw everyone out and to create change, which is what led to Trump in the first place. So that, to me, is a question. And if he can pull that off in places like Pennsylvania, that's going to be a big deal. Ohio, I tend to think, is a red state. I don't really think that's much in play for Democrats. I don't think they need it anymore. It's not really a tipping point state. But Pennsylvania certainly matters.
Pennsylvania has, just looking at this map, a lot of yellow, which are the counties in which really the personal income is the highest it's been since at least Clinton. But as I look, Sarah, at Michigan, it's a lot of pink, which is Clinton was a lot better. So this doesn't tend to indicate that Michigan is much in play.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up another interesting point that this data showed, that, you know, often even when presidents, were doing particularly well, you know, even if they were two-term presidents, that it seemed to flip then between Republican or Democrat, even if income growth alone was seeming to do pretty well in some of these counties. So, you know, I think it's an important factor, and it's, you know, it adds to the mix of the economic picture that we're looking at. But in and of itself, personal income growth isn't necessarily the deciding factor for voters. I think it just raises a lot of questions, you know, as we're talking to people, as these campaigns hit the trail, what's the message that Trump's going to be sending? We heard his campaign rally last night in terms of, you know, identifying ways specifically that they've improved the lives of Americans and speaking to them, because, you know, we know manufacturing is down a little bit, and that even though there's job creation, it hasn't benefited everyone the same. And so I think the Trump administration is going to want to tailor and target its messages about how it's helped certain groups of people with specific data points, and this is just one of them.
Boy, Sahil, I think that Sarah makes a critical point, because if we look back to the midterm elections, he could have been really pushing, President Trump could have been really pushing the tax cuts, things like that. And in fact, he was on the border wall and keeping all the immigrants out, and it didn't seem to work very well for Republicans in those midterm elections.
Right. The 2018 midterm elections were a 5-alarm fire for President Trump. He was decimated in these upper Midwestern states, not just Pennsylvania, but also Michigan and Wisconsin, which, as we know, were key to his victory. Now, with regard to the economy, there are warning signs in those states as well. In Michigan and Wisconsin, we see some negative impact of the president's trade war. We see the price of milk going up. Dairy and that sort of thing. Some of the stuff he's trying to deal with in the USMCA, which also has uncertain prospects going forward. So I think all of that will play. I think all of that will play into it, and I think the president's message with regard to his as yet unknown Democratic opponent will also be a big factor.
And Sarah, in politics, you can't beat somebody with nobody, so it's also a question of who's his opponent and what is the message they're going to be delivering that is a better message than President Trump's in, for example, Wisconsin or in Michigan or in Pennsylvania. It looks like it may be hard in Pennsylvania to say, I've got a better way than what President Trump had. But maybe in Michigan and Wisconsin, there may be somebody, but as you look at the debate stage, there's not that much talk about the economy, really.
Absolutely, and I think that's sort of an interesting change that's, a tide that's turned in the past few weeks. A lot of people were worried about a recession. Was it going to start to show some signs around the time of the election? Could that be a weak spot for Trump? But right now, it sort of looks like the economy is doing pretty well. And if you look at the notes from economists or speak to them, or Bloomberg Television, Radio have people on all the time who say it looks like the economy is doing pretty well, and there's no real big red flags heading into 2020. And so I think overall it's going to be a pretty easy message for the Trump administration to campaign for re-election on their economic record, give or take some weak spots. And for the Democrats, it'll be trying to set themselves apart. Well, what would they do differently to make the economy perhaps even better? How will they criticize Trump?
Okay, thank you. As I say, it's a really terrific piece. I commend to everybody. Many thanks to Bloomberg's Sarah McGregor and Tessa Hill Kapoor. But right now, it's time to look forward, and we look forward, of course, every day to Bloomberg.
Every day.
Every Bloomberg Business Weekend. Jason Kelly to tell us what's coming up.
Well, we're going to be talking a lot about retail, as you can imagine, ahead of Black Friday. Yeah. We're going to have some Thanksgiving hacks for you as you start to prepare the big meal. And, we'll talk about the markets. One of the interesting sort of retail angles, I have to say, David, Toys R Us, back.
No.
It's back.
I thought it was gone.
There's a test store in New Jersey where they're testing all these different concepts.
Is it a pop-up store?
All the details. No, it's a real store.
Wow. Boy, who would have thought that? Maybe they can pay all those pensions they didn't pay.
Exactly.
Maybe. Okay. We're going to look forward to that with Jason Kelly and Carol Masser on Bloomberg Business Week. In the meantime, that does it for Balance of Power today. I'm David Weston. We are on Bloomberg Radio. Thank you very much for being with us today. We hope you tune in again.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
25% off. This week at Tesco, we're taking that exact percentage off wine and fizz when you buy 6 bottles or more. So, technically, every 4th glass is on us. Tesco, delivering Christmas for 100 years. 18 plus excludes Express and Scotland Max 36. Exclusions apply. Ends 2nd of December.
NFL fans, hear every live game on TuneIn Premium. This Thanksgiving Thursday, hear the home and away call as TuneIn features all 3 Thursday games, starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern with the Bears at the Lions. Then, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, the Bills at the Dallas Cowboys. And to wrap it up, eat your pumpkin pie while listening to the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Dreaming of prepping that perfect Thanksgiving feast? Let TuneIn lend a hand with our collection of cooking podcasts, like the Bon Appetit Foodcast.
All right, guys, we have 10 minutes to discuss your expertly spiced and glazed
roast turkey. It starts
And
now.
good food.
So welcome to Good Food. Oh, thank you for having me. So how many years have you been hosting your own?
It varies from year to year and by my own.
Search Thanksgiving on TuneIn to take your turkey day table to the next level.
Along the goal line, Martin scores and takes it home.
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, he scores!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
I get that impression from Powell. I get the feeling he's a little bit more independent than what people might think he is.
Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine.
You want to go in the auto industry, I'm going to buy X and I'm going to short Y.
Plus global business, finance, and tech news as it happens.
Something happens in my brain when companies compare themselves to Amazon.
Yeah.
Like a whole bunch of brain cells die.
What is it, that techno music? What is it that you're supposed to do when you're there?
Yeah. Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
So live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio, welcome to Bloomberg Business Week. It is Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve, November 27, 2019. Carol Masser along with my co-host Jason Kelly. We've got the beige book, Crossing the Bloomberg Terminal.
That's right. And, we're obviously looking at this very closely because it tells us what's going on, sort of a level down across the economy. The Fed's saying that some retailers attributed higher costs to tariffs. That's something we've heard about. U.S. economy saw modest expansion through early November. That's something people will be paying attention to as well.
And saying the outlooks are generally positive, growth seen into 2020. So we're going to incorporate those headlines into our conversations over the next few hours. In the meantime, let's get to a Bloomberg Business Flash and to Doug Krisner.
Hi, Carol. Volume in the equity market is a little on the light side. That's not surprising. Thanksgiving tomorrow, right? So we are holding on to gains with the Dow up about 0.2%, keeping a very sharp eye on developments in the U.S.-China trade saga. You'll recall yesterday President Trump said talks on a phase one deal were nearly done. Now, if there's a negative here, it came from Deere & Company, cautious outlook for the year ahead, and the company is citing not only trade tension, but difficult growing conditions for farmers in North America. They're also expecting, or I should say the company is expecting, weak sales of construction equipment. Stock is down 5% right now. We also have weakness in shares of Boeing, down about 0.7%. The company has lost authority to declare the 737 MAX airworthy. The FAA will be issuing future certifications. Now, previously, Boeing was able to do this on its own. At the same time, today, the Wall Street Journal reporting that European and Mid-East regulators will be conducting independent certification reviews for Boeing's next new aircraft. In the bond market right now, U.S. 10-year Treasury yielding 1.75%. Got a stronger dollar in spite of the fact that there's not a lot of movement in the rate story and a much weaker Japanese yen at 109.48. So we could be seeing higher Japanese equities in a few hours from now. That's a look at markets. Let's get back to Bloomberg Business Week.
Doug, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Jason Kelly and Carol Masser here with you. It's a big retail day in the sense that all eyes turn to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Are you playing an air guitar?
I don't know why, but I'm just going to say that if you really want to experience Black Friday, folks, you got to put on your walking shoes. You got to get out to the stores. And that's what Sarah Halzak writes about.
Well, and you may be headed, if you're in the great state of New Jersey, to Toys R Us. Go figure. It's back.
Jeffrey,
kind of.
The giraffe is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a different look. We're going to catch up on that as well. Big tech.
Yep. How it betrayed its founding principles. We've got an in-depth conversation. We're going to get into that. It's also the subject of a new book. And then, speaking of tech, well, kind of. We're going to talk about hacking Thanksgiving.
We are.
It's not what you think, though.
Kate Crater is going to be along. Yeah, it's a different sort of hacking. This portion of Bloomberg Business Week is brought to you by Commonwealth Financial Network. For the sixth straight time, J.D. Power ranks Commonwealth #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms. Visit Commonwealth.com to learn more. Let's set the Business Week agenda now. Joe Weisenthal is here. He is markets editor for Bloomberg and the co-host of What You Missed. That's coming up at 4 p.m. Wall Street time. on BTV, and Dave Wilson, stocks editor for Bloomberg, author of The Chart and Stock of
Joe's going
the
through
Day.
those beige book headlines, aren't you? Woo!
Riveting.
All the best investors right now, all around, the best traders all around the world, they're like, hold on, I can't do any Thanksgiving prep. I got to be looking at these beige book headlines to make huge reallocations to my portfolio in the 2 hours before the holiday.
They're stopping in Williams-Sonoma around the world.
They're looking at their phones,
down.
and I'm reevaluating all my positions from the bottom up in light of these beige book headlines. And they're like, I only have 2 hours to trade.
Sarcasm.
That's what they're all doing right
Joe
now.
Weisenthal. Very nice.
Yeah.
That's what they're all doing right now.
Coming in hot. So, Dave Wilson, is there anything in the beige book that changes the way you think, or is it all just, as your tie would indicate, monopoly money?
Is Dave asleep over there after the beige book?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually talking to you in my sleep. It's amazing how that is. Yeah, beige has a way of doing that. No, it's more of the same. I mean, we kind of know where Fed policy is right now. We've heard enough from the central bankers lately. It's clear that 3 rate cuts are just fine for now, and then they wait, they see the data, they figure out where to go next. So it's not like the latest set of economic conditions, as represented in this book, is really going to change much because, it's not a departure from what we've seen lately.
All right, so Joe, what's the one thing, though, you think investors need to know about? Here we are one day before Thanksgiving. We'll be off tomorrow, and then, of course, Friday. We got a little bit of trading going on.
Stocks going up. That's it. I really think that's
the story, right?
It keeps happening every day, and it's still bull market and extremely fast bull market until proven otherwise. Until there's some reason for a narrative shift or something. Everything else, all the data, all the beige book headlines, everything is kind of noise. When this is what the market is telling you.
I love the story on the Bloomberg terminal. Bulls give thanks that FOMO is still a thing. I mean, right now, investors are concerned about missing out on the run-up in stocks. So you just kind of have investors kind of piling on. And we constantly have these conversations. Yeah. It's not like people are looking for exotic investment vehicles. They're just going to stocks because those returns are hard to beat.
A lot of stocks up today, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about this as a one thing? Consumers are not the only people shopping in retailing.
Okay, go on.
Hudson's Bay, the owner of Saks Fifth Avenue, there's now a takeover battle going on. One of their largest shareholders, private equity firm Catalyst Capital Group, they've made a $1.5 billion offer. They're competing with the chairman of Hudson's Bay. That's the company, Richard Baker. He's leading a group that wants to make a deal. And then you had a report out of Citigroup earlier today that PVH, think Calvin Klein and maybe Tommy Hilfiger, might be looking for their next deal either with Capri Holdings, which is Michael Kors, or Tapestry, which is Coach. And so what do you see? You see PVH down 3%. You see Capri up 3%, and Tapestry also higher. So, we'll see if that plays out. But it's interesting. I mean, given all the back and forth we've seen in retailing, all the concern about department stores and apparel chains. So now it looks like, there may be some deal making going on.
I'm going to go through some economic news, Jason. I think I was listening in on Mike McKee this morning on Surveillance. Just looking at U.S. business equipment demand, jumping the most, or by the most, I should say, since January. So since the start of the year. We're talking about data for October. And so we keep talking about capital spending, what's going on. We've seen that downturn. It weighed on third quarter economic growth, but it looked like October was a bit of a bump to the upside. So I think that's some optimism if companies are feeling comfortable enough to go out there and spend.
All right.
That's my thing. What's your one thing?
My one quick thing is Under Armour shares upgraded to a strong buy by Ray James, Matthew McClintock, saying that Under Armour's valuation, he is citing a lower valuation and infrastructure that is strong like a rock. Makes me think of strong like bull.
Strong like bull. Strong like bull.
Anyway, UAA, one of your best gainers.
Just taking off his headphones. Do you think we're done here?
Oh, are we not? I thought we were on one more thing. What?
Got anything else for us?
Well, claims. So speaking of data,
good.
Those had been inching up a little bit lately, and those had caught people's attention, and they really fell right back down. Pretty significant drop down to 213K. I mean, look, It's all about the labor market.
Yeah.
And that had been one thing. It wasn't even that it was weak per se. It wasn't weak at all, but it was one of those things that was sort of pretty weak, maybe signs of a little bit of softening on what had been just absolutely rock solid. But today's number, really strong. And I think we're at the point I want to emphasize where there's the market's perspective of the economy is always bounded by fears of recession versus fears of inflation. On the upside, you fear inflation. On the downside, you fear recession. And I think we're still in the mode where we're still far more concerned about any recessionary data, and anything that disproves or sort of pushes out the timing of the recession is very bullish for the market.
All right, we started out beige and got very lively. Joe Weisenthal, thank you.
Take off your headphones anytime.
Much. Joe Weisenthal headed off to What You Missed. Dave Wilson, he'll be back in just a few minutes with his chart of the day. Carol.
Let's world the national news headlines. Let's turn things over to Bob Moon.
Carol, President Trump got word of a whistleblower complaint before the White House released nearly $400 million in military aid to Ukraine. That today, according to two officials familiar with the timeline. The U.S. Trade Representative plans to announce next Monday what retaliatory action, if any, the Trump administration will take in response to a digital services tax that France instituted, which will hit large American tech companies. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports.
French President Macron enacted a 3% tax on revenue the biggest web companies earn in France. Margaret Vestager, who's taking charge of digital commerce at the European Union, spoke of international negotiations to resolve the issue in a Bloomberg interview.
We are strong believers in a global agreement. I'm very happy to see the progress made. Of course, that would be the better solution, but if that cannot be met, when you look at all the businesses who pay their taxes, it would only be fair that we pick it up again if a global solution is not possible.
President Trump has threatened a punitive tariff on French wine. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
A statement from Jimmy Carter's family says they look forward to enjoying Thanksgiving at home in Plains, Georgia. The former president was released from an Atlanta hospital today after recovering from surgery to relieve pressure on his brain caused by bleeding from a fall. The Iowa Court of Appeals has upheld a $4.9 million jury verdict awarded a Texas woman after she fell outside a hotel on an icy sidewalk and broke an ankle. The court, in its ruling today, rejected arguments by Marriott International that the jury's 2018 verdict was excessive and the result of a jury prejudice against the corporation. Global News 24 hours a day, on air, and at TikTok on Twitter. I'm Bob Moon.
What do you count? Interest rates?
If you get marginally higher interest rates, does that bring the PE multiple in?
Trade figures?
China driving a tectonic shift in the availability of money.
Employment data?
What is happening with the headcount?
You could just leave all that to us.
Is it a one-and-done tariff adjustment?
Tom Keene and Jonathan Farrell. Right where it counts. Bloomberg Surveillance. Weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
You know your body, and you know when something's off, when something doesn't feel quite right. Don't ignore symptoms like fatigue, joint pain, rashes, and fever. They could be signs of lupus. Listen to your body. Take care of yourself. We're here to help you take control of your health. Learn how at BeFierceTakeControl.org. Brought to you by the Lupus Foundation of America and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
What if you could keep the top economic experts in a conference room next to your office without having to feed them?
Do we need better optics? Do we need some substance? Do CEOs care about ESG?
We have seen quite a lot of stimulus pumped into the system already.
It's the biggest warning yet about the financial risks of climate change.
Now, there are more ways to hear us. Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and at BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Next. Nah. Nope. Boring.
If you skip through loads of your TV channels, why are you paying loads of money for them? With TalkTalk TV and Faster Fibre, you can access the nation's favourite TV shows, a world of films and sport, live and on demand, all for £25.95 a month for 18 months. And if you're quick, you'll even get a year of Amazon Prime on us. Search TalkTalk TV. TalkTalk. For everyone. Offer ends 5th of December, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly. Like our delicious Favorina all-butter mini Stollen bites for just $1.99. And 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
This year, make Christmas shopping a pleasure. Come to Bicester Village, with over 160 beautiful boutiques set in a fairy tale Cotswolds Christmas garden, glittering by day and magically illuminated by night. After a day's hard work finding the perfect gifts, reward yourself with festive menus and cocktails at Farm Shop Restaurant and Cafe by Soho House & Co. or a delicious dinner at Cafe Wolseley. Bicester Village, the perfect place for Christmas shopping.
Keys? Check. Lunchbox? Check. 8-year-old ready to go? Check. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new segregated section of Cycleway 4 under construction on the A200 Creek Road around the junction with Deptford Church Street. So expect delays due to lane closures. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
I'm Ben. I used to be homeless. I'd sleep in the train station, stuff newspapers in my clothes to keep warm. Sometimes I thought I wouldn't wake up. No one should have to live like this. The Crisis Christmas Centre was a safe place. We got hot meals, health checks and support. In the new year, they helped me find work and a home. This Christmas, you can reserve a place for someone who's homeless for just £28.87. Go to crisis.org.uk today and help someone like me take their first steps out of homelessness. Thank you.
Join us for the Perfume Shop's biggest Black Friday ever with huge savings like Jimmy Choo Flash EDP 60ml, only £19.99, save £26. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
25% off. This week at Tesco, we're taking that exact percentage off wine and fizz when you buy 6 bottles or more. So, technically, every 4th glass is on us. Tesco, delivering Christmas for 100 years. 18 plus excludes Express and Scotland Max 36. Exclusions apply. Ends 2nd of December.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Dreaming of prepping that perfect Thanksgiving feast? Let TuneIn lend a hand with our collection of cooking podcasts, like the Bon Appetit Foodcast.
All right, guys, we have 10 minutes to discuss your expertly spiced and glazed roast turkey. It starts
and
now.
Good food.
So welcome to Good Food.
Thank you for having me.
So how many years have you been hosting your own?
It varies from year to year and by my own.
Search Thanksgiving on TuneIn to take your turkey day table to the next level.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So a little while ago, we had the Fed's latest Beige Book report on the economy. Data indicates activity expanded modestly from October through mid-November. Now, most Fed districts reported stable to moderately growing consumer spending. Also, increases reported in auto sales and tourism. Several districts weighing in on that. Manufacturing, that's where it gets a little tricky. More districts reported expansion in the current period than in the previous one. Even so, the majority of Fed districts continue to experience no growth in manufacturing. Much of the equity market is at higher levels. We've got the volume on the light side, though, in front of the Thanksgiving holiday. We continue to keep a sharp eye on developments in the U.S.-China trade story. Yesterday, it was President Trump saying talks on the Phase 1 deal were nearly done. 1. Right now, the Dow is up about 0.2%. In the broader market, the S&P 500 better by 0.4%. NASDAQ Composite ahead by about 0.6%. Deere & Company delivered a cautious outlook for the year ahead, given trade tensions along with difficult growing conditions for many farmers in North America. And Deere also saying construction equipment purchases are expected to decline. So the stock is down about 5% right now. U.S. 10-year Treasury yielding 1.76% at this hour. You are caught up on markets. Let's get back to Bloomberg Business Week.
We certainly are. Thank you so much, Doug Krisner. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. I'm Carol Massar, my co-host Jason Kelly, and this is Bloomberg Radio.
Throw every last care away. Let's go to the mall.
So I think it's just about 33 hours away from officially being Black Friday, although we know it's already started big time online. But if you want to really, really experience Black Friday, you got to get on your walking shoes. Sarah Halzak is retail columnist at Bloomberg Opinion. This is one of her busy times of the year. She joins us on the phone from our bureau in Washington, D.C. Sarah, great to have you here with Jason and myself. So tell us a little bit about Black Friday, because we've been talking all week about how it's already started. It has started, I feel like, for a few weeks already when it comes to online emails that we've all been getting.
For sure. Black Friday has definitely become a marathon, not a sprint. And so a lot of deals started as early as November 1st from some of the major retailers. But this weekend is still critically important for the industry. 165 million people are projected to shop between Thanksgiving Day and Cyber Monday, and many of them will get an outsized portion of their annual revenue from this November to December stretch, and Black Friday will be a key day to do that.
Well, and Sarah, one of the things you break down in your column that I really like is maybe some generational misperceptions that we have about how people like to shop. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think our perception is that Gen Z has their face in their phones all day long, and probably their idea of Black Friday shopping is going to be swiping and tapping in their jammies on the couch. And that's not necessarily true. A lot of data shows that Gen Z shoppers like stores for all the same reason as us old folks do. They like to touch and feel a product or try it on in the case of clothing before they buy it. And for them, it's a really social experience. When we look at data about this long holiday weekend from Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday, the group that is most likely to say they're going to shop with family and friends in stores is actually Gen Z. And so for them, this is really a social, experiential event, a reason to get out of the house and do something with loved ones.
This is an important point in your story, and just to kind of reiterate it, Jason, of course, bringing it to everybody's attention, but as you say, crucially, it is younger shoppers, the most coveted demographic group for retailers, who are most likely to say that they'll be joined by family and friends for their in-store shopping over the long holiday weekend. I mean, I do think there is something to be had about like finding a bargain, but I do agree that it is social. Just kind of walk the streets of New York, and I agree. I see a younger generation. They're out there, and it is, with friends and so on and so forth. It's a social thing.
It is. It's really a ritual. I've been now out 7 years in a row reporting on Thanksgiving evening and or Black Friday, and anecdotally that tracks very much with what I see. It's very rare that you see someone who's just laser focused on checking boxes on their shopping list. What I see is moms and dads with a baby in the front of their shopping cart, groups of teens who are so eager to escape their parents, maybe even groups of young adults who've had a little too much eggnog and are joining together for some late night Thanksgiving shopping fun. You really do tend to see people out there in groups and doing this as something as a family or as a social event.
And so, Sarah, you also point out that the retail experience has really changed as well. It is far from analog, as you say. And stores have really invested pretty heavily. You've written about this in sort of this experiential approach. So folks are showing up and maybe expecting a little bit more from stores as well.
They are, and so I think a lot of retailers have invested in customer service, in trying to allocate their labor at the right times of day to make sure that lines are moving quickly and that people are being helped. I think they're also trying to allocate their labor with an eye toward the fact that their stores are becoming hubs for their e-commerce operations as well. So Target is a good example of a chain that does a lot of its online shopping fulfillment from its stores. Last year during the holiday quarter, 75% of its online orders were picked and packed in stores. And so that's a sort of interesting operational and logistical challenge that they have to deal with, making sure that they're having workers who are fulfilling those orders in a timely fashion while also interacting with those in-store shoppers.
It's a win-win, I feel like, for a brick and mortar, right? That you go online, like I've done it, like you go online, you order, and you're like, I'm going to pick it up in the store. And then while you're in the store, you go shopping. Like it is a great way of kind of doubling the impact.
That's exactly right. In the industry, it's known as attachment spend, but in theory, they're going to, once they get you in the door to pick up that online order.
My husband calls it unnecessary spend, but go ahead. Attachment spend, I love that.
Also a good name for it. But they're hoping to get you to spend another $25 to $40 just because some display catches your eye or one of their promotions seems to be a good value. And the other thing that's important about this hybrid model, the click and collect model, is that it's more profitable than the version of online shopping where they have to ship something to your doorstep, right? So when you're doing the hard work of driving to the store and effectively subsidizing last mile delivery for them, that's a better transaction for them from a margin perspective as well.
All right. Well, it's a great column and really gives us a sense of what to expect over the next 48 to 72 hours. We know you'll be out there and about. Sarah, looking forward to catching up with you next week and getting all the details. Sarah Halzak is retail columnist for Bloomberg Opinion, joining us on the phone from our bureau in the nation's capital. Are you headed out?
No, I'm not a Black Friday shopper.
I don't do it either.
And I don't do it after the holidays either. I feel like it's the last time I want to be in a store surrounded by a million people.
Yeah.
Digging through stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we do a pretty good job of avoiding it. We're going to be down in Atlanta, and there are a lot of malls around there.
Will you go shopping or no?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. But there's a lot of good college football on. You know, some bourbon to be drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Some bourbon to be drunk. There you go. That's going to be Jason's weekend. All right. Coming up, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about Deere & Company because, man, investors certainly not liking what they heard when it came to the quarterly update. That's coming up next on Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are heading into the Thanksgiving holiday with a quiet but modestly higher session. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 42, the S&P 500 up 11, the Nasdaq Composite is up 49. Boeing shares are lower as the FAA tightens its scrutiny over the 737 MAX. The agency says it will sign off on new planes coming off the assembly line before delivery to customers. In the past, that was a job done by company employees. Shopping for a car? You've picked the right time, with dealers likely to offer record discounts this month to get older models off the lot. J.D. Power says incentive spending will top $4,500 per vehicle. As Sprint, T-Mobile, and AT&T ramp up their holiday promotions, Verizon is sticking with last year's buy one, get one deal. Credit Suisse says Verizon may feel it doesn't need to do more. Verizon is also offering free Disney Plus and Apple Music to sweeten its deals. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The market's in focus every business day. The P&L Podcast with Paul Sweeney and Lisa Abramowitz.
Are there some sectors that you want to have more or less exposure to?
What's behind this engine of gains?
Analysis of the day's Wall Street action.
The U.S. market looks relatively safe.
From Bloomberg Intelligence, Bloomberg Opinion, and influential newsmakers.
Ward McCarthy joins us right now.
P&L with Paul Sweeney and Lisa Abramowitz. Listen today on Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Did you know that at Boots.com, there are thousands of amazing gifts to choose from? And if you order online, they can be delivered to the boots of your choice for collection. So gift like you get them at the fantastical choice of thousands of gifts to order and collect boutique. Charges may apply. See Boots.com for details.
25% off. This week at Tesco, we're taking that exact percentage off wine and fizz when you buy 6 bottles or more. So, technically, every 4th glass is on us. Tesco, delivering Christmas for 100 years. 18 plus excludes Express and Scotland Max 36. Exclusions apply. End 2nd of December.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere. Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem. See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. And for those based in the turkey at home, we've got great cooking podcasts for prepping the perfect turkey.
I have water with unflavored powdered gelatin, bun pan.
At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
If there's one thing you look forward to most on Thanksgiving, besides stuffing yourself with bottomless mashed potatoes and gravy, oh yeah, it's football. And wherever you are at game time, you can catch the NFL's epic Turkey Day triple feature on TuneIn this Thursday, starting at 12:30 Eastern. Don't miss the back-to-back-to-back lineup of Bears v. Lions, Bills v. Cowboys, and Saints v. Falcons. Whether you're driving to the in-laws or carving the bird, search NFL on TuneIn to hear the holiday action. Happy Thanksgiving.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow and TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
A lot of people happy to head into Thanksgiving. You know who's not happy today? Investors in John Deere.
Big time. That stock is selling off after the latest earnings report and outlook update. So we're going to dig into that one in just a moment.
But first, let's get back to Doug Krisner. He's got an update on this Wednesday trade. Hey, Doug.
Hey, Jason. I'm not going to steal the thunder on Deere. I'll let you guys deliver the bad news. But suffice it to say, the stock is down about 5%. So at the top of the hour, we learned from the Fed that the American economy expanded modestly from the months of October through mid-November. That's part of the Beige Book survey. It's have really little impact on today's session. The markets is holding on to gains right now, although to be fair, volume is light ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. The Dow right now up about 0.2%. NASDAQ Composite is ahead by 0.6%, and the S&P better by about 0.4%. Intel is down about 0.9%. The concern here is the challenges that Intel is facing in delivering components because of tight supply and limited chip inventories. You might remember yesterday one of Intel's customers, Dell Technologies, lowered its annual revenue forecast and partially blamed claimed part shortages from Intel. Automakers are becoming more aggressive in clearing inventories for some of those older models from U.S. dealers. J.D. Power is now expecting discounts this month will be even richer than before. The firm is expecting incentive spending will rise about 12% to over $4,500 per vehicle in the month of November. Income taxes might be the farthest thing from your mind. Well, not for the market. H&R Block shares today higher by about 2%. In the bond market right now, U.S. 10-year Treasury yielding 1.76%. That's markets. Back to Bloomberg Business Week.
Doug, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
A little B.B. King. Love it, love it, love it. Investors totally, though, not loving the latest quarterly financial update from Deere & Company. Stock selling off as the company missed estimates. Also, its outlook disappointing. So let's get more from Bloomberg Intelligence industrials analyst Christopher Ciolino. He is on the phone from BI headquarters in Princeton, New Jersey. So, Chris, nice to have you here with us. What went wrong for Deere this past quarter?
Yeah, thanks for having me. The quarter really wasn't that bad. It was really the 2020 outlook that was disappointing, and we think that probably has some conservatism built in it. It could also be the case of you have a new CEO who's taken the helm less than a month now, just setting a low bar and taking a very cautious approach given the persistent trade uncertainty and some of the challenging crop conditions that farmers are facing.
And so, Chris, remind us what sort of bellwether Deere is and sort of where we look at it, because obviously there's a read into ag, there's a read into general industrial spending, there's a read into global trade even. Set the stage for us.
Yeah, they are predominantly an ag equipment company. They do have a construction business, which has grown. They bought Wirtgen, which is a road building equipment manufacturer a few years ago. So that has become a bigger piece of their pie. But at the end of the day, it's ag equipment and what moves the needle for Deere, particularly on the large, high horsepower ag equipment.
So is this just a 1 or 2 quarter problem, or what kind of visibility do we have on this one?
Visibility is limited, to say the least. We've kind of seen this throughout the years that you've had just heightened uncertainty given the trade backdrop. It seems maybe one step forward, 2 steps back. That has been a factor, but I'd also point out you have weak farm fundamentals. You have still kind of historically low crop prices, which at the end of the day are one of the bigger drivers for ag equipment demand. You have excess crop inventories globally. You have a little bit of an inventory problem. Throw in some African swine fever. It's kind of a whole host of issues plaguing the sector, but trade is really at the forefront.
Well, and what's interesting is, I try to get my head around this because I feel like we constantly talk about the world is getting bigger and bigger. Developing economies are getting more developed, and there's bigger demands when it comes to food in general. So I would just assume that this is a boom for Deere & Company and, some of its brethren. So what's going on here?
Yeah, the long-term fundamentals are still very attractive, as you alluded to. You do have a growing global population, especially in the middle class, which tends to consume more protein in their diets, which is all very positive for ag commodities and equipment demand. We've just had a number of years of really good growing conditions, so farmers have been able to plant fence row to fence row this year, being the aside, but we're kind of impacted by the trade. So there is the long-term drivers are still intact. We do see that once we get some kind of stability on the macro front being a key driver moving forward. The fleet age is the oldest it's been in a decade, so there's definitely a lot of pent-up demand out there. It's more of these ancillary macro-type issues that have really been the overhang.
And so, Chris, what do we look for next from these folks? What could make investors feel a little bit better? Are they going to have to wait for data directly from the company? Is this something where if there's some sort of trade resolution, this is a name that people get a little more enthusiastic about? What happens?
The trade headlines always tend to be kind of a boost to sentiment, but as far as actually seeing some kind of acceleration in equipment purchases, we tend to have a little bit more of a cautious view there. Just because we reached some kind of potential trade agreement, there's still a lot of other factors out there that we think is going to keep demand somewhat kind of muted here in the near term. A lot of our ag crops are one of our largest exports. A lot of that goes to China. Brazil has picked up, really supplanted us. So I think that demand doesn't automatically snap back if we do reach some kind of tentative agreement. And like I said, you still have crop prices that are pretty low and weak farm fundamentals that are still going to be an overhang in the near term.
And let's remind everybody that before this release, the stock of Deere had been up more than 18%. So disappointment, it's not surprised to see investors take it down a little bit because, these stocks become priced for perfection.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you so much. Chris Ciolino is industrials analyst, easy for me to say, for Bloomberg Intelligence. He joins us on the phone from BI headquarters down in Princeton, New Jersey. Coming up, we'll talk a little ESG.
I love this story, and I'm looking forward to talking to this guest because there's a story on the terminal that caught my attention when I was reading this morning.
That was really good.
So we have to bring that up because it has to do with more regulation when it comes to green investments.
Yeah, so what actually is green? The term greenwashing comes into the conversation.
How many times do we have a conversation with somebody who is doing ESG and we're like, okay, so how do you, apples to apples, how do you compare the investments? Where's the transparency, right? Where's the criteria?
Right.
So that you truly know whether or not this is a green investment.
Well, especially because more and more big investors are getting serious about this.
Absolutely.
And wanting to put dollars to work. They're getting a lot of pressure from their constituents to do this, but they've got to have the right parameters, the right tools.
All right, so lots to talk about. First up, though, let's find out what's going on when it comes to world and national news headlines. Here is Bob Moon.
And Carol, here's where you don't want to be. Some drivers stranded by blizzard conditions spent 17 hours or more in their cars on Interstate 5 near the Oregon-California border. One woman who got stuck driving to the San Francisco area for Thanksgiving says she connected with others stranded around her using weather-related hashtags on Twitter to share information on the progress of the storm. 3 workers were hurt early today in a massive explosion at a Texas chemical plant that blew out the windows and doors for miles around. Those injured were treated and released. Port Neches Mayor Glenn Johnson says the blast made for a very rude awakening.
I understand what getting blown out of bed means now. Because you're up quick.
The TPC Group plant, about 80 miles east of Houston, makes chemical and petroleum-based products. An industry group is criticizing Massachusetts' new statewide ban on flavored tobacco and vaping products, including menthol cigarettes, as intrusive and costly. The New England Convenience Store and Energy Marketers Association says in a statement the legislation signed today by Republican Governor Charlie Baker will fuel the black market and cost the state millions in tax revenue. But Baker is pleased by the results of a temporary ban on all vaping products he imposed in September.
I have talked to numerous parents and teachers and kids since the ban went into effect who've told me that they have been able to get kids off of nicotine and off of vaping because it's just too complicated for them to acquire it under the current circumstances.
Baker says he'll keep that ban in place for the next 2 weeks while his administration drafts additional regulations. Global News 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter. I'm Bob Moon.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Feeling sleepy. On the bus home. Feet sore from dancing. Just me and Della. All quiet now. Peaceful. Our stop. Step out into the silence. Just our footsteps. Every shutter down. Traffic lights directing no one. Familiar glow. Step into the warmth. Big Mac and fries.
Over 700 McDonald's open 24 hours. We are awake.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy two and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Looking for a phone that makes everything look crystal clear, like the incredible iPhone XR with a liquid retina HD display? Look no further than Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. You can find an iPhone XR for just $27.49 a month, saving you £180. Be quick, this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £32.49, now £27.49. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
25% off. This week at Tesco, we're taking that exact percentage off wine and fizz when you buy 6 bottles or more. So, technically, every 4th glass is on us. Tesco, delivering Christmas for 100 years. 18 plus excludes Express and Scotland Max 36. Exclusions apply. Ends 2nd of December.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. And for those based in the turkey at home, we've got great cooking podcasts for prepping the perfect turkey.
I have water with unflavored powdered gelatin, bun pan.
At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
NFL fans, hear every live game on TuneIn Premium. This Thanksgiving Thursday, hear the home and away call as TuneIn features all 3 Thursday games, starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern with the Bears at the Lions. Then, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, the Bills at the Dallas Cowboys. And to wrap it up, eat your pumpkin pie while listening to the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
At home or on the go, stay up to date on the latest news and political trends with Fox's full lineup of shows. Plus, when news breaks, Fox has you covered with live updates and expert analysis on the biggest developing stories. Listen to Fox News Talk anytime on TuneIn.
On the goal line, scores! It takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
Hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Move, hit a shot,
from regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
From ESPN and the award-winning producers of The Sterling Affairs comes the latest season of 30 for 30 podcasts. 4 brand new stories of espionage.
He wanted this team to be the Barcelona of women's basketball.
Resilience.
I started to scream. I tried to get away.
Corruption.
It's the culture of win at all costs.
And rebirth.
How will we ever rebuild it?
30 for 30 Podcasts, Season 6. Listen in favorite 30 for 30 podcasts on TuneIn.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So we're at about 47 past the hour. Equities are extending records. If you look at the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, we are advancing. Dollar strength and long-term interest rates moving up. So a lot of risk on today. Markets obviously keeping a sharp eye on the latest when it comes to U.S.-China trade. You'll remember yesterday President Trump saying talks on a phase one deal were nearly done. And within the hour, we learned from the Fed that the American economy shows modest expansion from the period October to mid-November. Most of the Fed district reported stable to moderately growing consumer spending. Even so, the majority of Fed districts continue to show very little growth in the manufacturing sector, and so that may be a little cause for concern. Long-term interest rates, as I mentioned, up a bit. We're about 2.5 basis points higher now on the 10-year Treasury, yielding 1.76%. I'm sorry. Dow Industrial Average higher by 0.2%. S&P 500 up 0.4%. The Nasdaq Comp better by 0.6%. In the minus column, though, Deere is down about 5%. The company delivered a cautious outlook for the year ahead, given some trade tensions along with difficult growing conditions for North American farmers. Deere also said that purchases of construction equipment are set to decline. The dollar, as I mentioned, stronger. We've got a much weaker Japanese yen here at 109.56. You're caught up on markets. Let's get back to Bloomberg Business Week.
Doug, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio. Petty. I like that.
Well, Tom Petty, very cool. You and I were just talking. This was a story on the Bloomberg that caught both of our attention when we were reading in this morning about the $30 trillion treasure trove that has remained largely unregulated. We're talking about green investments, how that's about to change, especially with overseas regulators. Let's get some thoughts, though, on the world of ESG and sustainable investing. Perfect person to do that with. Erica Karp is back with us. She's Chief Executive Officer, founder of Cornerstone Capital Group. It's a firm focused on ESG and sustainable investments. She joins us in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio here in New York. Nice to see you.
It is a pleasure to be here.
So I do want to start with this story because I did find it interesting that we're talking about, when it comes to green investing, there isn't necessarily a lot of transparency or metrics to say, is this green investment similar to this one? How do we define it? We need some oversight.
We do, actually. Well, sometimes it's not even oversight. It's just clarity of language. One thing that's critical to understand is ESG is not investing per se. ESG analysis, that's a thing. And you use that to do better investing. So I would suggest there's no such thing as green investing. There is such a thing as great analytical work and a lens for sustainability.
So how has that lens gotten more sophisticated, as it were? Like, what are you doing? What are you guys specifically doing? What's the market doing to really make it, to use a very technical term, a thing?
Right. That's a great question. For it to be a thing, for people to realize that this is a critical part of any investment analysis, we do need better data, but we're getting there. So we're starting to see a more systematic disclosure of ESG data by corporations. So we're getting there. And then in terms of it becoming more sophisticated, people are realizing that the idea of just screening out kind of bad extractive practices and goods, it's way more complicated than that. That's a start. But we've gotten way past that now.
Well, it's interesting, too, and I do wonder if, this story on the Bloomberg that caught our attention is talking about the European Union specifically and how they're looking at this and how the U.S. is kind of absent from the debate in terms of regulation over benchmarks. I know you don't like the word green, but for green finance around the world. And I do wonder, if the EU is going to kind of set the trend here or get it kicked off. And maybe that's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about climate disclosures, the fact that Europe is getting serious about this, it's wonderful. You have to remember that all we're talking about here is risk-adjusted returns. When it comes to sustainable or impact investing, it is the systematic analysis of environmental, social, and governance work.
Right.
And so the risk is massive. We're talking about assets global assets at risk, financial assets, on the order of between 10 and $24 trillion.
We said 30 trillion here in this story.
It very well could be, because we're talking about kind of an economic vicious cycle.
Right.
You know, I mean, think about it. If an asset has value destroyed because of a climate episode, well, that asset may serve as collateral for lending.
Right.
And so that collateral loses value, the loan loses value, right? And then the ability to lend from a financial institution loses value.
This isn't just about doing kind of the right thing, right, in terms of either protecting the environment or making sure you have a diverse workforce. You're saying that there's also that financial risk, that if you are exposed to some of these various ESG factors or whatever, it could result in a business impact.
This is about business. This is about investing. And one day, you know, the analysis of ESG factors, material factors that go into profit outcomes will be mandatory.
Like we're seeing with the insurance
one
company,
day.
right?
Yeah.
The insurance industry,
Yes.
big time, because of climate change.
It's still going to take some time.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
So I want to go back to something you said and ask you to look at it through the lens of sort of some of your previous work. You ran global research for UBS. Like, you understand it better than almost anyone, sort of how important sort of the inputs are to sort of creating models and things like that. And so much of it does rely on disclosure from companies. Mm-hmm. As you look across the E, the S, and the G, where are they best? Where are companies sort of making the most progress there?
So arguably the E is kind of the easiest one. It's the most visible.
Yeah.
The governance, that's always been looked at. I think it's being scrutinized more closely now. The S is the tough one.
Right.
You know, but the S is so critical. And by the way, they all touch each other.
Sure.
You know, and so when you analyze companies and when you analyze asset managers, which is what we do all day long,
right,
you have to know what questions to ask by sector, by company, and then think about the magnitude.
So give us an example of a question you might ask on the social side.
Okay. So let's say we're talking to a manager, an asset manager who's looking at companies in the hotel and transport industry. All right. I would be asking those companies, what's going on with your kind of supply chain and your vendors and your restaurants and your hotels with regard to potentially human trafficking.
Interesting.
To potentially sexual and gender-based violence, right? To potentially to issues of diversity, which are critically important. So you have to ask those questions. Transparency, accountability, incentivization, consistency. Those are all things you would ask a company if you want to understand whether or not they are sustainable.
I do wonder if we get to a point where there's, 20 questions, 30 questions, right, among these different factors. And, think about what we do with restaurants. We do ratings. So you get there and you see the rating and you're like, yes, no, right off the bat, there's transparency. And I do wonder, can we get to the level, we should get to the level when it comes to publicly held companies, all companies, but certainly publicly held.
I think we can. And by the way, you never in New York go to a restaurant where the rating is pending. That's like the worst.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know that. So when it comes to ESG data, we are looking for momentum in improving ESG data. That's very good. That might be better than a snapshot of some company that does look sustainable but is deteriorating.
Right.
The truth is, a skilled asset manager knows what questions to ask based on the sector and the company. It doesn't have to be a million questions. It doesn't have to be disclosure of stuff that is, frankly, irrelevant to investment outcomes.
All right. Great stuff. Really good to catch up with you. Erica Karp, CEO of Cornerstone Capital Group, based here in New York City, here with us in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio.
All right, Jason, coming up, we're going to check on the bond market, some of the day's economic news with the wonderful Bloomberg News bond reporter, Alex Harris. She's wonderful. Well, she's always wonderful, but she brought us a treat today.
Praline maker. Oh, my goodness.
With real bourbon. Oh, my God.
Explains a lot.
And then we're going to talk about a story, a Business Week story that is a must-read. This is Bloomberg.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Dead of night. On a break with the lads. Excavators turned off. Everything's silent again. Amber still flashing on dark buildings. Hot tarmac steaming. Having a laugh whilst everyone else sleeps. Deadline looming. Sun won't be long. Foreman pacing. Hot Mackie D's. Back to work.
Over 700 McDonald's open 24 hours. We are awake.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
If there's one thing you look forward to most on Thanksgiving, besides stuffing yourself with bottomless mashed potatoes and gravy, oh yeah, it's football. And wherever you are at game time, you can catch the NFL's epic Turkey Day triple feature on TuneIn this Thursday, starting at 12:30 Eastern. Don't miss the back-to-back-to-back lineup of Bears v. Lions, Bills v. Cowboys, and Saints v. Falcons. Whether you're driving to the in-laws or carving the bird, search NFL on TuneIn to hear the holiday action. Happy Thanksgiving.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. And for those based in the turkey at home, we've got great cooking podcasts for prepping the perfect turkey.
I have water with unflavored powdered gelatin, butt pan.
At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
Capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters in New York, I'm Doug Krisner. 3 p.m. on Wall Street. The equity market right now is extending records with an hour remaining in today's session. Volume has been very light, as you would expect, ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. The dollar stronger. Long-term interest rates are up as well. Right now, the Dow Industrial Average better by about 0.2%. In the broader market, 10 of the 11 industry groups within the S&P 500 are trading at higher levels, and the S&P is up 0.4%. NASDAQ Composite, meantime, better by about 0.6%. A lot of focus on developments when it comes to the U.S.-China trade saga. Yesterday, you will remember President Trump said talks on a Phase 1 deal were nearly done. We also heard today from the Fed a snapshot of the American economy, the latest Beige Book survey showing activity expanded modestly in the period October through mid-November. Now, most Fed districts reported stable to moderate growth in consumer spending. Even so, the majority of Fed districts continued to experience no growth in manufacturing. Long-term interest rates, nonetheless, moving up with the yield on the 10-year at 1.76%. Shares in Deere right now weaker by 5%. The company today delivered a cautious outlook for the remainder of the year, given trade tensions along with difficult growing conditions for North American farmers. Deere also said construction equipment purchases are set to decline. Weakness in shares of Boeing. The stock is down about 0.7%. The company is losing the authority to declare the 737 MAX airworthy. Now, the FAA will be issuing future certifications. You know, previously, Boeing was able to issue its own certificates. At the same time, the Wall Street Journal saying today European and Mid-East regulators will be conducting independent certification reviews of Boeing's next new aircraft. Shares in Intel right now weaker by about 0.8% on concern about the challenges in delivering components because of tight supply and limited chip inventories. Yesterday, one of Intel's customers, Dell, lowered its revenue forecast partially because of part shortages. That's a quick look at markets. I'm Doug Krisner.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, it's time for some Business Week economics. We've been dealing with some pretty heady issues here leading into.
Around the table.
I just really wish that you guys
around the table
could have heard just the incisive economic commentary that was going on about pralines.
Elena's like, I thought we were talking about the bond market and the economic data.
Elena did not know what she was walking into here. Alex Harris is here, bond reporter, praline maker extraordinaire for Bloomberg in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio, and the aforementioned Yelena Shalecheva, senior U.S. economist for Bloomberg Economics. It's the day before Thanksgiving. We're going to talk a little turkey, literally, maybe some pies, maybe some pralines a little later on. But before we do that, Alex, bond market quiet. What's happening out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of activity after the economic data this morning, and then also we had a series of auctions that got crammed into the morning session. So you saw a little bit of price action, definitely off the data. Yields were up a bit, and then you also saw them firm up after the auction, which went actually pretty well. That 530s curve is still flattening. We're back to the flattest level we've seen since the end of September. So it's an interesting chart where you can see the steepening, and then you can just see the complete reversal over the last couple of months. And that's going to be something to watch again next week. We have a big data week. You have the ISM. You have payrolls. So this is going to be an interesting week.
I was just going to say, let's talk though about some of the data points today, because it certainly caught my attention listening to Bloomberg Radio and surveillance this morning. So Yelena, come on in on it. Talk to us a little bit about durable goods orders, weekly jobless claims. I feel like those are two worth noting.
Right. So there was a lot of data crammed, using the same word that Alex did, a cornucopy of data crammed into the morning session.
That was nicely done.
So I would like to highlight two themes here. So first of all, GDP revisions were to the upside, but actually that means somewhat weaker growth going forward, because all the revisions came from inventories. And this is an unintended stockpiling due to some trade anxieties. So
that's not the kind of growth we want.
Yeah, not really. And corporate profits weakened in the third quarter. That is also quite a negative sign for growth going forward. Another report this morning on personal income and spending showed that the trajectory of consumer spending growth is decelerating. So it decelerated from 0.3% in July to something like 0.1% in the latest report. So that is telling us something is going on and it's not good for growth going forward. Also, on top of that, income growth is decelerating as well. It's not contracting, but it's somewhat weaker. So all that means somewhat weaker growth in the current quarter, in Q4, even though it's not a critical slowdown.
So it gives room for the Fed, if they want to cut rates.
If we see growth continuing to slow down, particularly in the consumer sector, so if real consumer spending is, in the vicinity of 1.5%, that means significant deceleration in GDP growth, and which potentially opens door for more cuts.
All right. So what do we look for next? You sort of alluded to sort of what's coming next week, but we are running out of time for the year, right? So what's the sentiment that we imagine may take hold between now and the end of 2019?
I think it's just kind of holding on and just salvaging what you have. Yeah. I don't think it's a time where you try to do too much. I think it's, you look for your spots and then your focus is trying to get out. I think really for the last month of the year, the big area to watch is going to be those funding markets. Yeah. I think people are still a little nervous that, the banks tend to pull back at this time of year for certain regulatory reasons. And so even though, the Fed is in and they're doing all these operations and trying to keep things in check in terms of volatility in repo, everyone's still pricing in, a huge move on December 31st. I mean, we're talking right now, the forward market for overnight repo is pricing like a rate that's 200 basis points higher than where we are now. Like, that's a pretty significant move. And so I think, one of the things that we're watching on Friday is how month end behaves, because people are thinking that's a harbinger of what's to come at the end of the year.
You're talking about Black Friday, so this Friday.
Yeah, so it's also month end for the market, though, and everyone's squaring up. So
it's officially called Black Friday.
It is officially called Black Friday. It's also a half day, so the market's going to be sort of thin, and people are going to be a little defensive. But I think it could be a potential indicator as to how the funding markets do behave, for year end.
Yeah, exactly. And let's not forget that then when we come back from the holiday and the weekend and deal with Cyber Monday, we get a jobs report on Friday.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a good one, at least in terms of the top numbers. So we think it's going to be like 2 or 5,000 jobs created in November, and that is largely due to rebound in GM workers coming back to work. So it will be above the underlying pace. So don't get confused about that. But growth is strong enough for us to probably see another decline in the unemployment rate, revisiting the cyclical low at 3.5%.
All right. Thanksgiving plan? What are you doing?
Well, I'm hosting as usual, cooking, having guests, having fun, getting some extra sleep.
Getting some extra sleep. I love that. Not with a toddler, you're not.
She has a very well-behaved toddler.
He is.
Right?
Oh. Yes.
Exactly. Alex Harris? You've been cooking up a storm already.
No, just baking.
All
Chocolate
right.
pudding pie is done. We're going out to my husband's side of the family on Long Island tomorrow. Deep fried turkey.
Deep fried turkey. You had me at deep fried turkey when you mentioned that
Little
before.
5-miler in the morning, so it should be a good day.
Nice.
Can I just tell you, I just found the bourbon pralines recipe, finally.
All right. You going to put that out on Twitter?
I might. No, I'm not
you
sharing it
should.
with anybody.
Why would you
This
not
is
share
ours.
that? Why would you not want other people to experience that joy?
All right, fine.
All right.
Maybe
Thank
she'll
you.
share them.
Share it with the world.
I feel defeated now.
All right. Alex Harris, bond reporter for Bloomberg. Yelena Shalecheva, senior U.S. economist for Bloomberg Economics. Happy Thanksgiving to you
Happy
both.
Thanksgiving.
We're grateful for both of you. I think it's fair to say.
Adore, totally. Speaking of adoration, Josh Green coming up.
And we like him too.
Yeah, we totally do. And this story is, I think, a must-read, especially as we get ready for the 2020 political season. So we'll get to that in just a moment.
All right, but first, let's get to Bob Moon. We're thankful for him as well. He's got your world national headlines. Hey,
Are we having fun yet? The Grand Getaway gets going over the river and through the woods. And if you're traveling for Thanksgiving, you'll have plenty of company. Molly Hart with the American Automobile Association says whether it's flyers, train riders, or drivers, they're projecting an increase over last year.
An additional 1.6 million more people will travel this Thanksgiving holiday compared with last year, and that is a 2.9% increase.
The travel industry group Airlines for America projects 2.9 million flyers before this day is done, second only to the expected record of 3.1 million flyers on Sunday. Watch out for canceled flights. Even if the weather appears to be okay, there's a ripple effect across the system. Officials say President Trump was briefed on the whistleblower complaint about his dealings with Ukraine before the White House released nearly $400 million in military aid to Kiev. The revelation sheds new light on events that triggered the impeachment inquiry. Trump was told about the complaint in late August in a briefing by White House lawyers, according to two officials who were not authorized to publicly discuss the matter. Anti-government protesters burned down the Iranian consulate building in southern Iraq today, while 6 protesters were killed by security forces who fired live rounds amid ongoing violence in the country. Iraqi officials say protesters torched the Iranian consulate in the holy city of Najaf in the evening. One protester was killed and at least 35 people were wounded there when police fired live ammunition to prevent them from entering the building. Global News 24 hours a day, on air, and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
Europe was born about 200 million years ago when the supercontinent Pangaea began breaking apart. And today,
Germany already is in a much weaker position.
There's a lot of problems building up there for your country.
change happens faster now.
How are you reading Euro stocks at the moment?
Keep up.
The CEO speaking exclusively to Bloomberg.
Bloomberg Daybreak Europe. Weekdays at 1 a.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Sweet strawberry icing.
You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
What if you could keep the top economic experts in a conference room next to your office without having to feed them?
Do we need better optics? Do we need some substance?
Do CEOs care about ESG?
We have seen quite a lot of stimulus pumped into the system already.
It's the biggest warning yet about the financial risks of climate change.
Now, there are more ways to hear us. Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and at BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Are you
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Feeling sleepy. On the bus home. Feet sore from dancing. Just me and Della. All quiet now. Peaceful. Our stop. Step out into the silence. Just our footsteps. Every shutter down. Traffic lights directing no one. Familiar glow. Step into the warmth. Big Mac and fries.
Over 700 McDonald's open 24 hours. We are awake.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Looking for a phone that makes everything look crystal clear? Like the incredible iPhone XR with a liquid retina HD display? Look no further than Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. You can find an iPhone XR for just $27.49 a month, saving you £180. Be quick, this deal ends Sunday, 1st of December. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £32.49, now £27.49. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards at the goal line. It's intercepted.
Listen live as the action unfolds, or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Got a big journey ahead for Thanksgiving with the family? Well, don't forget to take TuneIn along for the ride. With live 24-hour news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Talk, you can catch up on the big stories and stay informed while you're on the road.
Other companies whose shares have hit all-time highs today include Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. Its shares started
Just try not to bring up politics at dinner. Trust us. Happy Thanksgiving from TuneIn.
Far wing, elevates, triple bucket.
The war of the crown. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut it.
The sideline, the Van Fleet for 3.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the
Search
right.
NBA today to start listening.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So we have roughly 43 minutes in today's session before the holiday. Not surprising that you're going to see light volume. Nonetheless, the equity market is extending records. We have a stronger dollar, and long-term interest rates are moving up. Let's get the very latest as we cross over to the Bloomberg Macro Squawk Desk. Here's Bill Maloney. Hey, Bill.
And thanks, Doug. U.S. stocks trading higher today, like you said, in somewhat quiet trade. Dow's currently up 45 points, S&P's gained 13, and NASDAQ is outperforming, up 52. The U.S. 10-year yield at 1.77%. Gold is down 7. Small caps are higher by 4 points, and 10 of the main 11 S&P sectors are also trading higher, led by gains in real estate and consumer discretionary. Only the industrials fell. Nasdaq Biotechs jumped 30 points. Transports fall 28. Semis rise 10, and the VIX is down by 0.5%. Leaders to the upside in the Dow, McDonald's, Home Depot, and Apple, while Boeing and IBM led to the downside. After earnings, VMware fell 2.8% after a positive start. Deere fell 4.2%. And in other news, U.S. crude production hit a fresh record high. Wrapping things up, Hudson's Bay confirmed a receipt of proposal from Catalyst Capital. Live from the First American News Desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Doug.
Thanks, Bill. Right now we're seeing a lot of weakness in the Japanese yen at 109.59 against the dollar, so that's going to set us up potentially for higher equities in the Tokyo market in a couple hours from now. You are caught up on markets. Let's get back to Bloomberg Business Week.
Doug, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio. Here's the news. All right, well, I think it's fair to say this is one of our favorite stories related to Bloomberg Business Week this week. We got a chance to catch up with the author earlier as we were taping our weekend show, so check out that conversation and that fine piece of television and radio that will be airing this week, but a great conversation that we had.
Thanksgiving
exactly,
meals.
Just settle in,
Watch
like
Business
you're done
Week.
watching football, watch a little Business Week. Get smart.
Totally.
Speaking of getting smart, he always makes us smart. Josh Green, national correspondent for Bloomberg Business Week, joining us on the phone from the nation's capital. His story, it's available online, is about a Democratic strategist with a novel take on fighting what she perceives as misinformation and kind of going toe-to-toe in the digital world with the GOP. So, Josh, tell us about Tara McGowan.
So Tara McGowan is a 33-year-old Democratic strategist, comes out of the digital world, and is, for my money, the most interesting strategist operating on the Democratic side right now for a couple of reasons. One is she's gained a reputation as a kind of Cassandra, warning loudly that Democrats are going to blow it if they don't pay more attention to social media, where Republicans and President Trump are beating them by all sorts of metrics. But what I write about in Business Week is part of the new plan she has to combat that, and that is to launch a for-profit media company called Courier Newsroom that is going to, or has already begun publishing digital newspapers in 6 swing states that are meant to essentially woo voters over to a Democratic point of view by publishing what appear to be news articles, but that focus on issues that Democrats care about and help to push back against what McGowan thinks is the conservative propaganda campaign that you see in a lot of Facebook, web, and news sites that has really had a palpable effect on voting outcomes in states Democrats need to win. So it's a very interesting experience. She's raised about $25 million from wealthy, tech-centric liberals to launch this. So it's a sort of a fascinating, of-the-moment experiment in money and politics and social media.
So, Josh, how do we see this? Is it more propaganda just on the Democratic side, or is it real news?
Well, I spent months reading what they've been publishing, and to be perfectly blunt, it's not propaganda. I mean, these are local news stories along the lines of what you'd read in ordinary but fast disappearing small-town newspapers, things covering, environmental policy in the state or state government, or, putting a local spin on national stories, that sort of thing. Part of McGowan's contention is that there are entire swaths and geographies of people who no longer have a local newspaper because they're rapidly disappearing. And so to kind of fill in that news gap, they've been turning to Facebook and not necessarily getting facts. What she is hoping to do is to resupply those facts through a Democratic lens, but with the belief that by publishing this stuff and by paying Facebook to push a lot of her articles to targeted populations of voters, that she will, in the end, be able to sway them over to the Democratic side and actually get them to turn out and vote for Democratic candidates.
And that's what I think is key, right? As you say, it's real news, but she is tapping into what we now know is the influence of big tech, in particular, whether it's Google or Facebook, right, that have tons of data on all of us, so she can target, and her organization can target these stories. I mean, the goal is create some social media velocity here.
Exactly. And what was so fascinating about the Trump campaign in 2016 in hindsight was that he was essentially native to digital media, and his team spent, millions of dollars and a lot of effort reaching people, persuading people, activating people on Facebook, doing things like building custom audiences that ordinary marketers do for consumer products. Trump applied that to the political realm, and it worked. And McGowan's complaint for Democrats is that they aren't doing this too. So now she is. One other factor here I think is worth thinking about is just in the last month or so, we've seen Twitter ban political advertising. We've seen Google come out and say we're not going to allow targeted political ads of the kind that candidates and campaigns like to run. And we know that Facebook is considering something similar. That is going to have a hugely disruptive and limiting effect on the political process. But McGowan's Career Newsroom project, it actually gets through a loophole because technically it is a for-profit media company, and it won't be subject to those limitations. So she'll still be able to micro-target these voters, even if other politicians and campaigns aren't.
30 seconds left. Josh, do you expect more people are going to essentially get into this business knowing how critical the digital information flow is in big elections now?
It'll be interesting to see. I expected that to happen right in the wake of Trump's victory. And for the most part, it really hasn't. Part of the reason that McGowan is launching this, she's also launching a $75 million super PAC focused on digital, is that she didn't feel like Democrats were alert to the danger of not moving forward in this area. So we'll have to see. But certainly she hasn't been shy about rolling out some very interesting projects.
Well, and certainly a big sort of first mover advantage in many ways, at least on the left. Josh Green, always a treat. Thank you so much. National correspondent for Bloomberg Business Week. Check out his story. It's a must read. It's on the Bloomberg and at Bloomberg.com.
I was going to say it's a must read, and then you can check out my bourbon pralines recipe. I mean, not my recipe, but courtesy of Alex Harris.
You tweeted it
Those
out.
two things you have to read. I listened to you. You said share.
I appreciate just because I want the world to have the best information.
Sharing is caring, and that's what we're about here at Bloomberg Radio. I'm Carol Massar, along with Jason Kelly. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. The Fed says the economy grew modestly through mid-November amid steady consumer spending and some improved signs for manufacturers. Its latest beige book struck a slightly brighter tone than the previous report, affirming the Fed's outlook for moderate growth. The Fed report has had little effect on stocks, which remain modestly higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 46, the S&P 500 up 12, the Nasdaq Composite gaining 49. Mortgage rates are slightly higher this week. Freddie Mac's weekly average for 30-year fixed-rate loans climbed to 3.68% from 3.66% last week. Rates on 15-year loans were unchanged. Amazon and eBay are being accused of selling cosmetics containing high levels of mercury. Groups including the Sierra Club purchased 158 skin-lightening products from Amazon and eBay in a dozen countries and say 60% were contaminated. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Bloomberg Business of Sports podcast.
How did the Yankees become this mega valuable team?
Where the money is flowing inside sports around the globe.
From the marketing perspective, where are the dollars spent?
From union heads to team owners, Scott Soshnick and Michael Barr speak to the names that power this multi-billion-dollar industry.
Boston Red Sox CEO Sam Kennedy.
National Hockey League Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Bloomberg Business of Sports. Listen today on Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Are you in?
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Gone.
Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Dreaming of prepping that perfect Thanksgiving feast? Let TuneIn lend a hand with our collection of cooking podcasts, like the Bon Appetit Foodcast.
All right, guys, we have 10 minutes to discuss your expertly spiced and glazed roast turkey. It starts
and
now.
Good food.
So welcome to Good Food. Thank you for having me. So how many years have you been hosting your own?
It varies from year to year and by my own.
Search Thanksgiving on TuneIn to take your turkey day table to the next level.
Start hearing more of what you want. Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations, live commercial-free news, and every live NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL game. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
To LeBron, slam dunk.
The NBA is on TuneIn Premium. Each week, TuneIn picks an NBA game you just can't miss. The Utah Jazz are north of the border to take on the defending champions, Toronto Raptors.
Hart pulls back, trying to make it 11-2.
Kawhi Leonard is all over the place.
This Sunday, the Utah Jazz are at the Toronto Raptors. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. Eastern. Search NBA on TuneIn to follow your favorite NBA team today.
Want TuneIn to remind you when the big NFL game is about to get underway? Be sure notifications are allowed on your phone and search NFL on the TuneIn app. Find the game you want to hear under events and tap Notify Me. We'll let you know exactly when it's time to listen in for kickoff.
From ESPN and the award-winning producers of The Sterling Affairs comes the latest season of 30 for 30 podcasts. 4 brand new stories of espionage.
He wanted this team to be the Barcelona of women's basketball.
Resilience.
I started to scream. I tried to get away.
Corruption.
It's the culture of win at all costs.
And rebirth.
How will we ever rebuild it?
30 for 30 podcasts, season 6. Listen and favorite 30 for 30 podcasts on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
The Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
I'm really looking forward to this story. Head to New Jersey if you want to see.
You guys have a road trip for, your family, Alice in particular?
Yeah, totally. Toys R Us.
Jeffrey the Giraffe is back.
Resurrection.
In New Jersey.
Yeah.
Back.
Sort of
in
a
New
different
Jersey.
look back in New Jersey. A little bit of a different look. We're going to get into that in just a minute. First, let's get back to Doug Krisner. He's got an update on the trade. Hey, Doug.
So the question is whether or not the giraffe was restructured. I mean, is that fair?
That is a very fair question. And stay tuned, everybody.
All right. So we've got the equity market extending record highs right now, a stronger dollar against the majors, and long-term interest rates pushing up. But to be fair, volume in today's session, this shouldn't come as a surprise. We are light ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. We're keeping a sharp eye on developments when it comes to U.S.-China trade. You'll remember yesterday President Trump said talks on a Phase 1 deal were nearly done. We heard today from the Fed, the latest Beige Book report indicates the American economy expanded modestly in the period October through mid-November. We have Deere, though, delivering a cautious outlook for the year ahead, given some trade tension, along with a difficult growing conditions, plural, I should say, for North American farmers. At the same time, Deere said that purchases of construction equipment are set to decline. So the stock is down about 5%. Nonetheless, a record level for the Dow Industrial Average here at 28,156. We're up a little more than 1/10% on the day. S&P 500 better by 0.4%. NASDAQ Composite is higher by 0.6%. U.S. 10-year Treasury right now with a yield of 1.76%. That's a look at markets. Back to Bloomberg Business Week.
Doug, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
All right, this is why I was playing air guitar earlier. I was getting ready for the chart of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who is it?
I don't know. Who is it?
Is it AC/DC?
Yes, it's AC/DC.
Nicely done.
You're saved for the day, Jason. Maybe the bagpipes were a distraction in that song.
The bagpipes did throw me for a second, but then that is a distinctive voice.
Yes, it is. The original lead singer, the late lead singer of AC/DC, Bon Scott.
There you go.
On that one.
All right.
Absolutely. In any case, why pick that? Because, it's a long way to the top if you're the smaller U.S. companies in the stock market.
Small caps.
I mean, considering how far they've fallen in the last few years, I've seen all kinds of analyst research in the past few days referring to the small caps because you saw the Russell 2000 index reach its highest level in more than a year, 52-week high. You hadn't seen one of those in about a year. And in fact, you got new highs yesterday, and presumably you'll get one today as long as the index closes up, and it's higher by about 0.5%, so that looks like a fairly sure thing at this point.
But people have talked about the small caps lagging behind their large cap brethren.
Absolutely, and the new highs in the Russell this week have done very little to sort of reverse the situation. That's the key. You go back to September, the ratio between the Russell 2000 and the S&P 500, which the chart tracks, was at an 11-year low. And as of yesterday, it was only up about 2.5% from that low, even with, the gains in the smaller companies that led to the 52-week highs for the Russell. So really what it comes down to is they haven't made a whole lot of progress. Now, there are some folks who will tell you that there will be more progress next year. We're kind of in, prediction season. So people figure smaller companies may gain a march on the larger ones. But they got a long way to come back. I mean, given really that, this ratio peaked back in 2013 and just in, the last year and a half or so, right. I mean, you saw an 18% drop. So, that just goes to show you, when you see new highs, it doesn't necessarily mean that the situation has changed all that much, at least for the smaller companies. You want to know more? Send me an email. I'll get you the chart, the explanation that goes with it, and everything I do going forward. The email address, folks, is dwilson@bloomberg.net. That's D. Wilson at Bloomberg.net.
All right, Dave Wilson, thank you so much. He'll be back a little bit later on with his stock of the day. We've been talking about it since the top of our broadcast about Jeffrey the Giraffe, Toys R Us. It is back in New Jersey. This story featured at Bloomberg Checkout. It's a web section dedicated to consumerism and technology. You can read this story and others at Bloomberg.com/checkout. Donald Moore is U.S. consumer reporter at Bloomberg News. He joins us in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. So Toys R Us, it is back after bankruptcy. Remind everybody, right? We're talking about the bankruptcy filing. Was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, this was 2017. He declared bankruptcy, and he tried to find a buyer. He couldn't find it, so then he just began closing all the stores. This was early 2018. So this is the first store since they started closing.
And it's a different sort of store. I mean, I think we think about Toys R Us, being these massive sort of big box stores. This is in a fancy mall, smaller footprint, but it seems like this could be the future of Toys R Us.
Yeah, so like the huge aisles everyone remembers are gone. So everything here is kids' height. And instead of long aisles with huge shelves, they have these spaces that are rented out by brands. So you have a Paw Patrol area. You have a LOL Dolls area. You have a Nerf area. You have a Nintendo area. So there's spaces for every type of kid, basically.
I think it's brilliant because I think about going when my daughter was younger and she'd be like in her stroller. And man, if we were ever at anything near her height, like in a store, the kid would just get pulled in. So it's really smart to be catering to kids, right? And make it the other thing I think which is really crucial in terms of retail, Jason, you and I have been talking about it a lot, is the idea of an experience. And they're creating experiences for kids and families.
Yeah. So everything here is about doing stuff instead of just seeing stuff. So there's a huge treehouse in the middle of the store. Like kids can climb up it, go to stairs, they can ring a bell once they reach the top. There's area to play with Legos and like dynamic sand. There's a movie theater where kids can watch movies. They have a program for like every day of the week. So it's really about things you can do instead of just buying stuff here.
Right. And so this is part of a plan. There are going to be, about 10 of these around the country?
Yeah. So this is the first one. There's one opening in the Galleria in Houston next week. And they hope to have, including those two, hoping to have 10 by the end of next year.
Wow.
Yeah. Who owns the company now?
So this is True Kids. This is a holding company. They bought Toys R Us. They bought Babies R Us, the Jeffrey the Giraffe brand. So it's a new holding company now that's reviving the brand.
We'll have to see because, last Christmas we did without Toys R Us and you had Amazons and others. We talked with Matt Boyle about even Best Buy, starting to sell traditional toys. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, definitely. Competition from online brands, like they left the void, and then you have Amazon swooped in. You have Target, Walmart, even grocery stores now. Some of them are selling toys. So it's interesting to see whether they can regain their mojo in a way.
Well, and I love that Amazon actually printed a toy catalog.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is like those of us who have kids or were kids, I mean, I love going to a toy store. I mean, it's such a, sort of visceral, tactile experience. It's a great story. We know you're going to be busy this weekend. Donald Moore, U.S. consumer reporter for Bloomberg, with the scoop on the new look Toys R Us.
I love this story. All right, coming up, we're going to take you down to the closing bell. Take a look at also some of the stocks on the move in just a moment. We'll get a market commentary in just a few minutes. But first up, back to World and National News headlines and Bob Moon.
Carol, Congress has given itself the holiday gift of time. Another 3 weeks to resolve budget issues and finance the government until next September to avoid shutting it down again. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports from Washington.
Budget negotiators agreed on spending limits for the next year, but as Douglas Holtz-Eakin, the economist who heads the American Action Forum, noted in a Bloomberg interview, the sticking point once again is President Trump's demand to finance a wall on the Mexican border.
They couldn't get there because of the wall. They've got problems with the National Defense Authorization Act. That always has been bipartisan. It's stopped dead because of the wall. Until they figure out how to handle the wall and the ability of the president to move money to build the wall, even when Congress hasn't appropriated it, they're not going to have a deal.
The issue is also making the Homeland Security spending bill one of the hardest to pass. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
They don't call it the Windy City for nothing, and as blustery weather moves across the Midwest, causing travel headaches, some motorists in Chicago got the worst of it. Officials say a wooden sign flew off scaffolding at the city's tallest building, the 110-story Willis Tower, formerly Sears Tower. The construction debris slammed into two vehicles and injured a cab driver whose windshield was smashed. Those winds are headed for New York, where they might force the grounding of the famous character balloons at the 93rd annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. NYPD Chief Terrence Monahan assures everybody it'll be a great event.
Santa's going to be across that route. This is going to be a great parade.
If a balloon has to come off the route, there's still a lot of other entertainers that are going to be coming down the route.
The balloons have only been grounded once in 1971. Global News 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter. I'm Bob Moon.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Startups and research universities like New Jersey Institute of Technology are fueling the innovation economy. And few people are better positioned to see what's on the horizon in New Jersey than physicist and state representative Andrew Zwicker.
How technology is transforming our financial sector is revolutionary, and so much of that is in New Jersey. We are innovators when it comes to agriculture, and there is opportunity now for great transformation in how are we going to grow food in an ever-growing population, and how do we turn urban centers into agricultural centers. Autonomous vehicles is another one where we have some of the world's leading experts, and how this will transform how those who are either elderly or are visually impaired or mobilely impaired can start to use autonomous vehicles to transform their lives and have access to transportation they could have never had before.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu/.
Gone. Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Join us for the Perfume Shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold. Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown. Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. Featuring nonstop music, binge-worthy podcasts, 24-hour news, and live NFL, NHL, and NBA games. At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
Why do some leaders inspire action when others don't?
The best leaders are actually the best followers because they don't see themselves as the thing to be followed. They actually see themselves as following a cause bigger than themselves.
I'm Guy Raz. How leaders inspire movements for change. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR. You can subscribe to the TED Radio Hour on TuneIn.
The swagger of a perfect dunk. The rush of a three made from all the way downtown. The adrenaline surge of great defense. Can you feel the goosebumps yet? There's nothing like live NBA and nothing like listening live on TuneIn.
Giannis down the lane to the rim, throwing right corner three, another one.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season, so you can be there when it matters most. Never miss the action as it happens. Hear the ball you love. Hear it live on TuneIn. Search NBA today to start listening.
Along the goal line, Martin scores! It takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, they score!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
A lot of people aren't aware that TuneIn lets you listen to the same terrestrial stations that you pick up on your FM AM dial, except you can hear them from anywhere. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
At home or on the go, stay up to date on the latest news and political trends with Fox's full lineup of shows. Plus, when news breaks, Fox has you covered with live updates and expert analysis on the biggest developing stories. Listen to Fox News Talk anytime on TuneIn.
And breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So we have about 13 minutes to go in today's session before the holiday begins tomorrow, and then on Friday, abbreviated trading for the U.S. equity market. Right now, the major benchmarks are at record highs, with the Dow up 0.1%. You go inside the S&P 500, 11 of the 10 industry groups, or I should say 10 of the 11 industry groups are all higher. We only see weakness in the industrial complex contributing to a little bit of pull in a negative way for the S&P 500. But nonetheless, the S&P is holding on to a gain right now of about 0.4%. NASDAQ Composite is up 0.6%. So we've got one eye on developments when it comes to U.S.-China trade. Yesterday, the president saying talks on a phase one deal were nearly done. Today, we heard from the Fed. The latest survey on the American economy shows activity expanded modestly in the period October through mid-November. And then we have, on the negative side, a cautious outlook from Deere. Trade tension, one of the drags here, but also difficult growing conditions for some farmers in North America. And Deere is also expecting purchases of construction equipment to decline. So the stock is down about 5% right now. Intel shares lower on concern about the challenges of delivering components because of tight supply and limited chip inventories. You'll remember yesterday, one of Intel's big customers, Dell Technologies, lowered its annual revenue forecast partially because of part shortages. Intel shares right now weaker by 0.8%. In the bond market, U.S. 10-year Treasury with a yield of 1.76%. That's a look at markets. Back to Bloomberg Business Week.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
How about you let me drive?
Oh, no.
Who's gonna drive you home?
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
Just drive, baby.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the Drive to the Close.
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
On Bloomberg Radio.
All right, let's do the drive to the close here. A lot of traffic out there on a Thanksgiving day, but comfortably ensconced in Summit, New Jersey. That's where we find David Dietz. He is president and chief investment strategist for Point View Wealth Management, looking after about $6.6 billion. Happy Turkey Day Eve, David.
Same to you, Jason. Thank you.
All right. Well, great to have you back with us. So let's take stock, as it were, of where we are. And as we head into, sort of a longish weekend, although the markets are going to be open for a bit on Friday, how are you feeling about this market?
So we certainly have a lot to be thankful for on this Thanksgiving Eve. We've got the low interest rates. Yields are less than stocks. That's driving continued inflows into stocks. It looks like we've sidestepped the domestic recession. We just got the latest Numbers on the second reading on third quarter GDP was higher at 2.1%. Federal Reserve's on pause after cutting the interest rates three times. But nevertheless, Jason, with a really strong November here, there are some reasons, at least near term, to be cautious. For example, the VIX, which is, that fear gauge, that's moved down from over 20 just 6 weeks ago to under 12. Some of the indexes have had eye-popping returns this year. For example, NASDAQ now up over 30% year-to-date, up 4.3% this month. That doesn't go on forever. Another metric which looks at risk on, risk off has moved into the 95th percentile of historic readings, which means rarely have investors been so bullish. So those are some reasons to be cautious, nevertheless, despite the backdrop of a relatively positive economy and interest rate environment.
I know, but I feel like, David, go back over the last few years and we keep thinking, okay, it's time to come to an end. This market cycle, this economic cycle, and yet here we are. And I do wonder about the rapidity in terms of how news kind of works its way through the financial markets. We react, we sell off, and then we bounce back. And so I do wonder what's going on? What's different? Should we not believe these levels right here? Do the fundamentals not justify it?
Well, certainly the trade talks have been a major factor, and now it does seem like the stars are aligning for at least a phase one, Carol. And certainly I think politically the White House wants a win in the book as it comes into the election 2020. I think China's growth is slowing. They're still growing rapidly, but also slowing. And so I think they want to make some sort of an agreement, and I think that is bolstering investor sentiment. But then, of course, the question is how much is priced in terms of a phase one, and if it's actually announced, what do investors do? Maybe they've bought on the rumor. They may take some profits on the news.
All right, so let's talk about a couple names. As I'm looking at some of your picks here, I go to, probably this time tomorrow, people, cracking a cold one, sitting down, watching some football. Molson Coors is a name that you like. Why?
So, it's the second largest beer distributor in the country with about a 1/3 market share. It also has big operations in Canada, in Europe. They have a large percentage of luxury beers as opposed to economy beers. You've got the Blue Moon, of course. And so, that's kind of been stuck in the mud as people have questioned how much consumers are going to continue to drink beer in the wake of alternatives, including hard seltzer, things along that nature. But nevertheless, with this low interest rate environment, I actually think it's a potential takeover play. I mean, companies like LMVH have been borrowing for less than 1%, just took over Tiffany. Might have a Diageo or even Anheuser InBev that decides to make a play for a Molson Coors. You've got a good dividend, over 4.5%, and I think in some ways is less exposed to what's going on with the China trade negotiations. I think this could be a nice defensive holding here.
David, are you saying Coors is like Tiffany?
Well, I think that alcoholic beverage is kind of like the poor man's luxury goods. So in some ways, not something that you necessarily need, but definitely from time to time you want.
What you're thinking about Wells Fargo? Now, Charlie Scharf, now the new president and CEO, he's a different type.
You were waiting for that. You were waiting for it, David. We kept pressing you on why you were hanging on to WFC, but now you got your guy.
Well, exactly. And the stock has moved up from the mid-40s to about 54, just shy of a 52-week high. You still have that over 4% dividend yield, which is nicer. But I do think that next year we could see higher interest rates if we have indeed skirted a recession. And that certainly is going to help banks, all banks, make a better spread between what they pay out for deposits and what they get for loans. I also like the fact is we're long in the tooth in terms of the economic cycle. Wells has a history of prudent underwriting, and I think that's a positive. I love their retail branch structure, coast to coast, which gives them tremendous efficiency in terms of promotion. They've got a great wealth management division and so forth, and that is not hurt by markets being at record levels. So, I think that Wells is something that would be a good defensive position should interest rates move higher and people move away from, utilities and REITs and other defensive holdings.
All right. So 30 seconds. What's the sector that you're most excited about for the balance of the year, or a name?
Well, that's a short period of time. One I would cite is Carnival Cruise, which is about 11 times earnings. It's the largest in the cruise industry. You got a 4.5% dividend, and certainly if we continue to see record highs in the markets, more people may want to take a cruise. And of course, if there's some sort of relaxation with overall trade disputes, I think that will bode well. And of course, as the weather gets colder, more people think about sunning themselves on a nice deck, perhaps also with a Molson Coors brew.
Not to mention, too, the stock's down about 15% from that June high. So we've certainly seen the stock beaten up a little bit.
All comes together. All right, David Deeds, President and Chief Investment Strategist for Point View Wealth Management, looking after about $6.6 billion, joining us on the phone from Summit, New Jersey. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Well, coming up, we're going to get to the close of trading for this Wednesday, the last full day of trading here on this Thanksgiving week. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg.
Are you prepared for Black Friday? Are you going to get up at 4 in the morning? Is your queuing strategy sorted? Relax. The Black Tag event is now on at Car Phone Warehouse. Get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for £39 a month with 90 gig of data. Or save £70 on the Google Pixel 3a, now $329. The Black Tag event, now on at Car Phone Warehouse. Galaxy S10, $49.99 upfront cost. Select 24-month contracts. Google Pixel 3a, worth $399. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
This year, make Christmas shopping a pleasure. Come to Bicester Village, with over 160 beautiful boutiques set in a fairy tale Cotswolds Christmas garden, glittering by day and magically illuminated by night. After a day's hard work finding the perfect gifts, reward yourself with festive menus and cocktails at Farm Shop Restaurant and Cafe by Soho House & Co. or a delicious dinner at Cafe Wolseley. Bicester Village, the perfect place for Christmas shopping.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Diesel Only the Brave EDT 75ml, only £24.99, save £25.50. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. And for those based in the turkey at home, we've got great cooking podcasts for prepping the perfect turkey.
I have water with unflavored powdered gelatin, bun pan.
At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
From the financial capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
That's the sound of the closing bell for this Wednesday, November 27th, day before Thanksgiving. So not surprisingly, volume was very light today. Nonetheless, records across the board for the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ Composite. We're going to need a few minutes for accurate settlement, but I can let you know that right now it looks like the Dow's going to pick up about 0.2% on the day. Markets kept a sharp eye on developments in the U.S.-China trade saga. You'll recall yesterday President Trump said talks on a Phase 1 deal were nearly done. Today we heard from the Fed, the latest survey on the American economy showing activity expanded modestly in the period October through mid-November. Most Fed districts reported stable to moderately growing consumer spending. Even so, the majority of districts continue to experience no growth in manufacturing. Speaking of manufacturing, Deere & Company delivered a cautious outlook for the year ahead, given trade tensions and difficult growing conditions for farmers in North America. At the same time, Deere said that equipment purchases for construction products is also set to decline. Stock was down about 5% today. S&P 500 higher by 0.4%. The NASDAQ composite climbing nearly 0.7%, moving above 8,700 for the first time. Shares in Boeing were down about 0.7%. The company has lost the authority to declare the 737 MAX airworthy. The FAA will now issue future certifications. You know, previously, Boeing was able to issue its own certificates. At the same time, the Wall Street Journal reported European and Middle Eastern regulators will conduct independent certification reviews of Boeing's next new aircraft. We had shares in Intel down by about 0.7% on a lot of concern about the challenges the company is facing in delivering components because of tight supply and limited chip inventories. Yesterday, one of Intel's customers, Dell, lowered its annual forecast for revenue because of chip shortages. That's a look at markets. I'm Doug Krisner.
Your next move will be your last.
Nobody move a muscle.
Damn, Stiffy, you got some moves.
And I'm moving on from town to town.
Time is money. Let's go. Come on, move it.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
Bloomberg Business Week, Movers and Shakers, with Carol Mazur and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, it is time to take a look at some of the movers and shakers on this. I want to say Friday, but it's not. It's Wednesday.
It's a Friday-ish, though.
It's got a Friday
Tomorrow's
feel.
a holiday. Markets are closed tomorrow. Everybody's eating turkey, watching football, drinking bourbon. Did I say drinking bourbon?
Well, they're going to be even drinking potentially more bourbon, especially if you're a bull in this market, because the Dow, S&P, and the NASDAQ at another record close here. It's kind of blows my mind here. S&P 500 overwhelmingly to the upside, 358 names in the S&P higher today. 145, though, losing ground, including Deere, which we talked about earlier, your number one decliner in the S&P, down more than 4%. But off its lows of this session, we had two stocks unchanged. For the week overall, up 1.25% on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The S&P up almost 1.5% so far this week. The NASDAQ up 2 more percentage points this week.
Yeah, and one of your poorer performers, and then we can get to some winners, Dollar Tree again. That stock really getting beat up. Some tough guidance that they gave and some very negative commentary about tariffs. They are probably more exposed than a lot of retailers to China, those sort of lower price, low end goods that they sell at dollar stores. Very much about the Chinese sort of supply chain there. So they are suffering again today. Your fourth worst performer in the S&P, down 2.3%. One of your best, Under Armour.
I knew you were going to go there.
I mentioned that at the top of the show. It was so interesting to watch this because they got a new CEO, Kevin Plank stepping aside.
Yeah.
They've had some investigations and whatnot, but one analyst coming in and essentially saying,
strong like a rock.
Strong like rock.
Strong like bull.
Strong like bull. I couldn't help but think of you saying that when I read strong like a rock.
We used to say that all the time growing up. Strong like bull.
Strong like bull.
Under Armour shares, though, upgraded to a strong buy from Outperform by Raymond James. They cited the company's valuation, as you said, strong like a rock, strong like a bull, infrastructure, and fewer execution and headline risks. Yeah, because I'd like to say that they've gotten a bunch of those headline risks maybe out of the way.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe, right.
Autodesk, one of your best performers, too, rise with analyst positive on its free cash flow outlook. That's your fourth best performer in the S&P. And can we just reiterate the fact, records across the board? pretty amazing.
Yeah, I am like kind of blown away.
You're a little stunned.
Well, and the funny thing is, I still feel like it's kind of a hated bull market. And I just feel like I see this consistently.
It's a very skeptical bull market in some ways.
Right? Because I just feel like,
hate is a strong word. Carol.
Okay, you're right. Okay. So
you don't love the word hate.
I don't love the word hate.
You're such a kind person.
Thank you very much. I like to think I'm fairly nice.
I didn't say nice. I said kind.
Ouch. So what do we got? The S&P 500, Jason's up almost 26% so far this year. Check out the Dow. Of course, it's just, a small basket of stocks, but nonetheless, we watch it. It's up almost 21%. The NASDAQ, though, is up 31% this year.
It's incredible. I mean, tech stocks. I mean, it's interesting to think about tech, especially in light of the conversation we are about to have about big tech. And you do wonder if 2020 is going to be a much tougher year for big tech. The cover of the current issue of Bloomberg Businessweek, it's all about Alphabet and Google, their struggles internally, externally with what they want to be as they get into the proverbial middle age.
Here's how tough it is for big tech. Facebook's up 54% this year. Alphabet, of course, the parent company of Google, is up almost 27% this year.
So not so tough, you're saying? Is that your little violin that you're playing there?
That's my little violin.
It's not very good violin.
No, well, I'm not a good violin player. I'm just going to say. You want to do the VIX?
Let's do the VIX. We heard David Dietz talk a little bit about it. The VIX up just a touch, up 1.65%, closing at 11.73. This is Bloomberg.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Wilson, where are you? Wilson!
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
We're going for a price on Wilson.
Open up the door. It's Dave. Who? Dave.
Hey, Mr. Wilson!
Mr. Wilson, Dave Wilson, back with us with his stock of the day. What you looking at?
Verrica Pharmaceuticals, Jason. It's a development stage dermatology company. They're working on treatments for skin diseases. The company was founded in 2013 and went public in June 2018. The ticker is VRCA. Verrica made its initial public offering at $15 a share. Now, the stock rose as much as 55% in the first week of trading, but the gain was short-lived. In the next 6 months, the price tumbled as much as 72%. Now, Verrica has rallied this year, and this past Monday and Tuesday, the stock climbed a total of 16%. Today, U.S. regulators accepted the company's application for what would be its first product. It's a treatment for a viral skin infection called molluscum contagiosum, which affects children, causes bumps on their skin. The regulators are due to decide by July, which wasn't exactly a surprise. Jefferies estimated in a report 3 weeks ago that a ruling would come next summer. Yet Verrica's shares retreated in what you might call a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of move. They fell as much as 15.7% today and closed with a loss of 9.9%.
David Wilson, what do you make about the market run-up this year? You've seen a lot of market cycles. You've been reporting here at Bloomberg for, a quarter of a century. I'm not trying to make you old. I think you started when you were 10. But I'm just thinking, what do you make of it?
You know, it's almost like we're back to where we were a couple of years ago with Tina. There is no alternative.
There's no alternative.
Because, we've seen yields come back down. We've seen the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates. So, if you're looking for income, if you're looking for growth, stocks have been the place to be, and that's certainly shown up in this year's performance.
And you do wonder, this run-up, these records, I mean, you always talk about what's going to be one of the topics at Thanksgiving. Politics always is one, unfortunately. But this market run-up, people probably feel good about their stocks.
Yeah, they feel good about it, but not overly enthusiastic. And that's been the story of the past decade or more, that, sure, there's a lot of optimism, but not enough to suggest that we're in some kind of a bubble environment.
Right, because people still talk about folks not in the market, right, and cash sitting on the sidelines, so on and so forth. So interesting. Dave Wilson, you have a great Thanksgiving, and we really appreciate it. Right now?
Let's get to Bob Moon. He's got some world national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, anti-government protesters burned down the Iranian consulate building in southern Iraq today, while 6 protesters were killed by security forces who fired live rounds amid ongoing violence in the country. Iraqi officials say protesters torched the Iranian consulate in the holy city of Najaf in the evening. One protester was killed and at least 35 people were wounded there when police fired live ammunition to prevent them from entering the building. Officials say President Trump was briefed on the whistleblower complaint about his dealings with Ukraine before the White House released nearly $400 million in military aid to Kiev. The revelation sheds new light on events that triggered the impeachment inquiry. Trump was told about the complaint in late August in a briefing by White House lawyers, according to two officials who were not authorized to publicly discuss the matter. The grand getaway gets going, and if you're traveling for Thanksgiving, you've got plenty of company. Molly Hart with the American Automobile Association says whether it's flyers, train riders, or drivers, they're projecting an increase over last year.
An additional 1.6 million more people will travel this Thanksgiving holiday compared with last year, and that is a 2.9% increase.
The travel industry group Airlines for America projects 2.9 million flyers before this day is done. That's second only to the expected record of 3.1 million flyers on Sunday. Watch out for canceled flights. Even if the weather appears to be okay, there's a ripple effect across the system. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
In the real world, there are no rabbits in hats, crystal balls, or cards that turn into money. Instead, you get business information from top-tier analysts and experts.
What should expectations be for this latest round of negotiations?
That's actually better, isn't it?
They're both trying to say they have the upper hand.
Bloomberg Markets with Paul Sweeney and Lisa Abramowitz. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
3, 2, 1. Oh no. Which button am I?
When every second counts, you can't wing it.
Guys, a little help up here?
In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So make a family home fire escape plan. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year so everyone knows what to do when they hear. Prepare your family at ready.gov/fire drill. Brought to you by FEMA, the Ad Council, and Make Safe Happen.
What if you could keep the top economic experts in a conference room next to your office without having to feed them?
Do we need better optics? Do we need some substance? Do CEOs care about ESG?
We have seen quite a lot of stimulus pumped into the system already.
It's the biggest warning yet about the financial risks of climate change.
Now there are more ways to hear us. Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and at BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but Miss Araceli, she gave me direction.
At age 47, Marco finished his high school diploma.
50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I'm Ben. I used to be homeless. I'd sleep in the train station, stuff newspapers in my clothes to keep warm. Sometimes I thought I wouldn't wake up. No one should have to live like this. The Crisis Christmas Centre was a safe place. We got hot meals, health checks and support. In the new year, they helped me find work and a home. This Christmas, you can reserve a place for someone who's homeless for just £28.87. Go to crisis.org.uk today and help someone like me take their first steps out of homelessness. Thank you.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Got a big journey ahead for Thanksgiving with the family? Well, don't forget to take TuneIn along for the ride. With live 24-hour news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Talk, you can catch up on the big stories and stay informed while you're on the road.
Other companies whose shares have hit all-time highs today include Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. Its shares started.
Just try not to bring up politics at dinner. Trust us. Happy Thanksgiving from TuneIn.
On the goal line, Martin scores and takes it home.
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, he scores!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Why do some leaders inspire action when others don't?
The best leaders are actually the best followers because they don't see themselves as the thing to be followed. They actually see themselves as following a cause bigger than themselves.
I'm Guy Raz. How leaders inspire movements for change. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR. You can subscribe to the TED Radio Hour on TuneIn.
Far wing elevates, triple bucket.
The war of the crowd. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut
The
it.
sideline, the Van Fleet for three.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the
Search
right block.
NBA today to start listening.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
So the equity market extended record highs today in light pre-Thanksgiving trading. Equity volume was about 20% below the 20-day average. Nonetheless, we had the Dow picking up about 0.2%, 28,164. Look at the NASDAQ composite. We're above 8,700 for the first time. The gain here is nearly 0.7%, 8,705. And the S&P 500 was better by just about 0.5% to 3153. Obviously, U.S.-China trade remains a key focal point. Recall yesterday, President Trump saying talks on a Phase 1 deal were nearly done. Today, the latest eco data kind of indicate the American economy registered a modest start to the fourth quarter. Orders for durable goods picked up in October, led by a rebound in demand for business equipment. Even so, consumer spending was a bit restrained. Nominal consumer spending was up about 0.3% last month. That was pretty much in line with estimates. One trouble spot came from Deere & Company. It delivered a very cautious outlook for the year ahead, given not only trade tension, but difficult growing conditions for farmers in North America. Deere went on to say that purchases of construction equipment are set to decline. So the stock was down today by about 5%. In the bond market, U.S. 10-year Treasury last quoted in New York at a yield of about 1.76%. So we're higher on the day by nearly 3 basis points. That's a quick look at markets. Let's get back to Bloomberg Business Week.
Doug, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
Don't you wanna be evil like me? Don't you wanna be mean?
So one of our next guests picked this song, and we'll get into why about being evil. And it speaks to a bigger, broader theme this year, and it's been a theme this year, and it's no doubt going to be a theme in 2020. Big tech, the regulation of it, what big tech stands for, what they're all about, how they're impacting our world. Let's get into it, because Vinny Catalano is back with us. He's Chief Market Strategist at Stuyvesant Capital Management, Global Investment Strategist at Defoe Redmount, and also with us is CNN Global Economic Analyst Rana Foroohar. She is also author of the book Don't Be Evil, hence the evil, How Big Tech Betrayed Its Founding Principles and All of Us. They're both in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. Nice to have you both with us. Jason and I talk about this all the time. First of all, talk to us a little bit about the premise for your book.
Yeah. Well, I cover the markets, and you just look at the numbers and you see that basically about 80% of corporate value is living in 10% of firms, and they're the firms that have the most data, the most intellectual property. So this is part of a massive shift that's really the industrial revolution of our time. So the economic story is there. The political story, I mean, we've been living this now for 2 years. The fact that the model of a Google or a Facebook in particular is highly targeted advertising. It's about targeting us down to the individual, but that splits society. I mean, it comes with side effects. It comes with a lot of great value, but it comes with side effects. Then there's the brain science, the social issues. And, to be honest, I got into this topic in some ways for a personal reason. I came home one day, I was looking at a credit card bill, and there were all these tiny charges, $1.99, $3. I thought, my God, I've been hacked. And then I realized my 10-year-old son has my passwords. Turns out he had racked up $900 in a supposedly free online soccer game that was tracking him and selling him in-app purchases. And I thought, as a mother, I was horrified. But as a business journalist, I thought, I want to know everything about this.
Yeah. So, Vinny, come on in here, because as Rana so wisely noted at the top, I mean, this is a business story front and center. Sure. And for investors, what's not to love about tech? I mean, Carol just went through the numbers at the close of how well these big tech stocks have done. Investors have made a ton of money here.
FOMO, fear of missing out too, if you don't jump on the on the investment train here.
Sure, absolutely. I think the investors should know that there is an investment paradigm here that they need to dig a little bit deeper into and understand. Rana talks about it with the targeted ads and the revenue streams that are coming from this surveillance capitalism system that is going on. And it's interesting when Rana mentions about that she was hacked, that she thought she might have been hacked. And as I began to explore this area, thanks to Rana, that I realized that, we're being hacked.
Yeah.
But we're not being hacked in the manner of, you would ordinarily think about it. The drill down into our behavior.
Yeah.
Well, so you really need to understand it on a whole range of levels.
Well, we talk about the business we cover this week about Google and the generals at Google, right? For a long time, Silicon Valley wore as a badge of honor, kind of Washington hating them. And now all of a sudden that they're middle-aged, a lot of these big tech companies, especially something like a Google, they want to be involved in those big government contracts.
Yeah, sure.
And they're doing so, but they've got a lot of their employees not happy about it. This whole idea of, not doing evil, right? This was something that they held as part of their corporate culture, and now things are changing.
Yeah, and it was always baked into the business model, frankly. I mean, evil was part of the business model if you think that targeted... From day one. I mean, you go back to the 1998, the very first paper that Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google, wrote. It had a section at the bottom that said, if you monetize a big search engine with targeted advertising, the interests of the users and those of the advertisers are going to come into conflict at some point. And so they actually advocated for an open search engine, maybe something in the academic sphere. But, it's interesting. Vinny's making a fascinating point, because this disruption is not just about the 4 or 5 Silicon Valley giants. It's coming to every business model.
Right.
So one of the things that I find so fascinating, if you just look at the insurance industry, for example, you can now have sensors in your house, in your car, that will give you a discount if you're taking care of your plumbing or you're stopping quickly, but you might get a black mark if your kid is smoking weed in the bedroom. What does that do? That disrupts the entire insurance business model of pooled risk. Think about that. That's coming to every industry. The implications are really profound.
And so we've only got about a minute left in this first segment. We're going to keep you around for another. What was the biggest surprise to you writing this book? What jumped out?
In some ways, the fact that it was always there, it was hiding in plain sight. That paper, and frankly, this goes to my point. I mean, one of the social side effects of this high-speed media landscape that we're in is that people don't read as much. And I got to think that nobody read the initial paper because we kind of would have known where we were going to be.
Well, it felt so good when it started happening. We got so into it.
Well, we went from big data, this is going to be great, it's going to make everything better, to, oh my God, big data, you have so much information on each and every one of us.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about China yet. That's the real surveillance.
Let's do that
there's our tease.
in just a minute. We're going to talk about that and much more when we come back. Rana Foroohar, is here with us. Her new book, Don't Be Evil. It is a must-read. Vinny Catalano here with us as well. Stick around. We're going to have much more. We're going to talk about China. We're going to talk about maybe where it goes from here as we look at 2020. It's an election year, and clearly this is at the center of a lot of political discussions as well.
Definitely on the minds of those candidates. You're listening to Bloomberg Business with Carol Massar, Jason Kelly, and this is Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks head into the Thanksgiving holiday on a high note, with the major averages all closing at record highs. The Fed's latest Beige Book economic survey painted a picture of modest economic growth, but had little impact on the markets. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 42, the S&P 500 rose 13, the Nasdaq Composite gained 57. Consumer spending rose last month at the fastest rate since summer, a positive sign for the holidays. The government reports a 0.3% rise. Incomes were flat. A bidding war may be brewing for Hudson's Bay Company. Catalyst Capital, which owns a large stake in the Saks Fifth Avenue parent, is offering $1.5 billion, topping a bid from a group led by the company's chairman. It's game over for the Arena Football League. It has ceased operations and filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The Albany Times Union says it comes about a month after the league shut down its 6 member clubs. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The market's in focus every business day. The P&L Podcast with Paul Sweeney and Lisa Abramowitz.
Are there some sectors that you want to have more or less exposure to?
What's behind this engine of gains?
Analysis of the day's Wall Street action.
The U.S. market looks relatively safe.
From Bloomberg Intelligence, Bloomberg Opinion, and influential newsmakers.
Ward McCarthy joins us right now.
P&L with Paul Sweeney and Lisa Abramowitz. Listen today on Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
Join us for the perfume shop's biggest Black Friday ever, with huge savings like Jimmy Choo Flash EDP 60ml, only £19.99, save £26. Plus buy 2 and get 20% off the second item. Offer ends 1st of December, savings off RRP while stocks last, exclusions apply. For T's and C's, visit us in-store or online at theperfumeshop.com.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
NFL fans, hear every live game on TuneIn Premium. This Thanksgiving Thursday, hear the home and away call as TuneIn features all 3 Thursday games, starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern with the Bears at the Lions. Then, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, the Bills at the Dallas Cowboys. And to wrap it up, eat your pumpkin pie while listening to the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. Featuring nonstop music, binge-worthy podcasts, 24-hour news, and live NFL, NHL, and NBA games. At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
Hey, Can't watch the big NBA game because your life's just too busy? I've got some news for you. TuneIn Premium is the answer to all your problems. Hear every home and away game live or on demand everywhere you go. Just search NBA to listen.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Why do some leaders inspire action when others don't?
The best leaders are actually the best followers because they don't see themselves as the thing to be followed. They actually see themselves as following a cause bigger than themselves.
I'm Guy Raz. How leaders inspire movements for change. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR. You can subscribe to the TED Radio Hour on TuneIn.
Cutting for the net, scores! Along the goal line, Marchand scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
Yes, indeed. Bloomberg Business Week on this Wednesday. Carol Master along with Jason Kelly. We're going to continue our conversation, taking a look at the role of big technology, its initial principles, and kind of where it's all come and where it's all going.
Yeah, really excited to continue this. It's a great conversation. This is something that really could be talked about around the Thanksgiving table for sure. First, let's get back to Doug Krisner. He's got an update on what's going on after the close. Hey, Doug.
Hey, Jason. We're kind of getting settlement here, but nonetheless, we're at records for the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ. Equity volume today about 20% below the 20-day average. Obviously, the U.S.-China trade story continues to be a focal point. At the same time today, the latest eco data show the American economy was off to a modest start in the fourth quarter. Orders for durable goods picked up a bit in October, led by a rebound in demand for business equipment. And then you go on to look at consumer spending. It was a bit restrained. Nominal consumer spending was higher by about 0.3% last month. That was right in line with estimates. Intel shares today moved lower on a lot of concern about the growing challenges the company is facing to deliver components because of tight supply and limited chip inventories. Yesterday, Dell Technologies, one of Intel's key customers, lowered its annual forecast for revenue, partly because of the problems the company is facing with part shortages. Automakers are becoming a little more aggressive in clearing inventory for some of the older models from U.S. dealers. J.D. Power is expecting the discounts to be offered will be richer than ever before in the month of November. J.D. Power expecting incentives likely to rise about 12% to over $4,500 per vehicle. 10-year Treasury last quoted in New York at a yield of 1.77%. That's a look at markets. Back to Bloomberg Business Week.
All right, Doug, thank you so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week.
And we want to continue our conversation. Still with us is Vinny Catalano, Chief Market Strategist over at Stuyvesant Capital Management, Global Investment Strategist at Defoe Redmount. And also still with us is Rana Faru. Her book is Don't Be Evil, How Big Tech Betrayed Its Founding Principles and All of Us. This is great for your stocking stuffers this holiday season because
big stocking.
Big stocking. That's okay. This is like a must read because it does
it's
really
the story of our time.
It is.
It's the story of our time.
And it impacts no matter what industry. You said before the break, one of the things we need to get into is China's role in all of this. Tell us a little bit about that and where you see how that plays in.
Right. Well, this is the story, the the economic story right now. Tech, trade wars. This is really about China and the U.S. going different ways in terms of how the internet is going to be governed, in terms of strategic technologies. I keep hearing from a lot of Chinese investors that they believe they're going to have their own ecosystem. They've already got their own big tech players, Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, all those, but that they are going to actually have their own supply chains, their own consumer brands. I mean, a company like Xiaomi is already doing better in some areas than Apple in China. So this is a big split coming, and it's really interesting. It's provoking some fascinating, strange bedfellows in the U.S. You know, you see a company like Google saying, well, you know, maybe we should be a national champion here, you know, teaming up with the Defense Department, thinking about how to kind of ring fence the ecosystem in the U.S. Same again with Amazon. They've tried to ring fence government purchasing. My worry is the overall ecosystem, though. I worry that you're going to end up with a scenario where 4 or 5 big players have the entire pie, and that doesn't work. We've got to make room for other companies, really.
So 4 or 5 players sort of connotes that there would be a monopoly.
Yeah.
And yet we seem to need a new definition for monopoly.
Right.
Because monopoly pertains to price increases generally as a rule in an industrial economy, but in this kind of surveillance, capitalistic information economy, that's really not the case.
Yeah, and you know the point about price is so profound, because you're absolutely right. The whole Chicago school, you know, as long as prices are going down, everything's fine, doesn't fit when you're not doing a transaction in dollars. You're doing it in data. It's a barter transaction. Right. So that's not that's a very opaque market, and that's why you have this asymmetry and this kind of superstar effect with an Amazon or Google. They've got all the information. You don't have any information. Right. So I think we are going to need some regulatory shifts to deal with that.
So as you sort of finish reporting and writing this, and as you go out and talk to people, I mean, as we've been saying, we're not just saying it because you're, I mean, it is the story of our time. It's incredibly timely. Are you more optimistic, less optimistic? Have you changed your own sort of behavior or your thoughts about this through the process?
Well, I absolutely have. I mean, I've done a digital detox. It was kind of actually by force that last Christmas I dropped my cell phone on Christmas Eve. It was a company issued phone, and I couldn't get a replacement. And it was like, you know, going off cigarettes or something for 48 hours. I was twitchy. I kept reaching in my pocket. So I do that regularly now, and I've actually cut down the amount of times that I check email, which, by the way, it takes you 5 minutes to reset every time you interrupt. So your productivity, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. The productivity conundrum probably has something to do with technology and the effects of these firms.
No, I think that's a really good point. And you see more and more advice saying, you know, check your email a certain amount of time, you know, times a day, not constantly letting it kind of interrupt your workflow. I do wonder, though, in terms of regulatory oversight, where it's all heading.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 big schools of thought. I mean, one is that, look, we can work within the existing system and just make some small tweaks. The other thought, and this is more how the Europeans are going, is we're going to need a really profound reshaping. I mean, the Europeans are talking about public data banks, you know, where the public sector would own this data. But on the other hand, you've got California coming in and saying, hey, maybe we need a digital sovereign wealth fund, because at the end of the day, if data is the new oil, you have to make sure that value can be shared.
Well, can I just add something?
Please.
Rana said earlier in regards to the capture of information and the anticipation of what is about to occur, and, you know, dropping the phone, things of that sort. One of the concerns that's been expressed has been whether or not the machine learning will have accomplished so much that it knows what you're going to do in anticipation of, and therefore it isn't.
Do you have free will?
You don't. Yeah, it really does come down to that.
Yeah,
it really has. It has a definitely
existential.
That's correct. It has a matrix feel to it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
it's a whole other level.
I think we just
going back and thinking about
we just went into the matrix briefly. All right, thank you both so much. We really appreciate it. Rana Foroohar. The book is "Don't Be Evil: How Big Tech Betrayed Its Founding Principles and All of Us." It is a must-read. It's incredibly thought-provoking. It will spur conversations, probably spur some different behavior as well. Has given us a lot to think about. Our thanks as well to Vinny Catalano, Chief Market Strategist for Stuyvesant Capital Management, and of course, Global Investment Strategist over at Defoe Red Mount.
So I'm thinking of putting a new poll out on Twitter. Like, what are you going to discuss at Thanksgiving? Is it politics? Is it technology?
Yeah, well, that's better than the poll you put out yesterday, which is, would you eat 40 pizzas in 30 days?
Papa John's. I didn't create this problem. Papa John's. I'm just going to